And three, two, one, and here we are again. A hard stop to the video. I should really try and fade that one out. That would probably look a lot better. So here we are, another day, another cold email summit day. This is day number 3 already, and I have the first speaker backstage already waiting for you guys. His name is Devin Johnson from Kennected, and I will welcome him to the stage in just 1 second. But before we do that, just like we did every single day so far, I would like to go over the schedule that we have for today and for the rest of the week, which for us is only tomorrow. So tomorrow is the last day already of the Cold Email Summit. We've had hundreds of people tune in, watch the replays, watch live, either on YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. So that has definitely been a great experience. We heard from some really, really great speakers from some very interesting companies, and well, these last 2 days we will do the exact same thing. So what I'll do, I'll share my screen with everyone, and I will just show you what the schedule looks like for the rest of the week. So here we go, sharing my screen. And then this is what the final 2 days of the Cold Email Summit looks like. So today, our very first event is with Devin Johnson. He is the CEO, founder of Kennected. Kennected.org is where you can find out more about them. And he will tell you all about research for sales and as well what Kennected are doing and why he's the right person to talk about that. Then he's followed by Mitchell Connery, Mitchell from Buzz.ai. He will talk about full sequence personalization. So how do you go beyond just sending a personalized email and then not personalizing the rest of your sequence? And he's an absolute pro at doing just that. And then these guys, they're followed by JB or Gabrielle Blackwell from Airtable, another well-known and phenomenal company. I'm a big fan personally, and I'm sure many of you are as well. And she will be talking about her playbook, her cold email playbook. So what is actually working for her, for their team in the trenches, as they say right now. And then last but most definitely not least, there is Eric from Growth Engine X, and he will keep you all up to date on the latest sales technology. So what you're potentially missing out on and what you need in your technology stack to make sure that you're getting the most out of the latest trends. So without further ado, I'll bring Devin on. Devin, I can see you backstage. If you can just give me a thumbs up or a hello and a wave, and then you are live in about 1 second. Here we are. That's Devin, and I'm making myself far too big. Let me just have a quick look. There you are. That is much better for the people. How's it going, Devin?
Good, good. I appreciate you guys having me on here and excited to talk about, how to find your dream clients.
Yeah, most definitely. We're very excited to have you. As far as I know, you are the only speaker that we have this week who is in the Inc. 5000, but I didn't ask around. That's something I should probably investigate. So yeah, just tell us about that. Tell us who you are, what you do, why you're the right guy to be on stage here today.
Yeah, so I've scaled this company to north of 25 million by doing proper research, but also more importantly, doing massive impact on making sure we close down the business we get in front of, right? So we're number
Sure.
583 on the Inc. 5000 list. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 15 years old, and I've been hustling and trying to figure out who I need to be in front of essentially my entire life. So I'm 25. I've been doing entrepreneurship for 10 years, and it's all about who you know, not how you do it.
Exactly. No, I very much can echo that. And so, how did you get started when you were 15?
Yeah, so I started in sneakers. I was
Sneakers, all
faced with
right.
some adversity at a very young age. I was put in a situation where my sister was diagnosed with cancer. My mom
Mhm.
had to move into the hospital. My dad walked out on us, and it was either move into the hospital or figure out a way to help mom. And I started by reselling shoes, so Nikes, Jordans, Yeezys. Then that turned into a trade show. Trade show
Mhm.
turned into digital marketing, and then led me to founding the company Kennected 4 years ago.
Sure. That's very impressive, and I'm really glad to hear that you were able to put a positive spin on that, which then turned into you, and I'm sure that you're now very well capable of providing for your family.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm blessed, and we're just getting started. I say it a lot. We're
Mm.
4 years into it, but there's different stages, right? And
Sure.
I'm in the stage of going to the big B, right? I'm chasing that one.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That sounds exciting. I know for sure that I will be following along. So before we get started, you a big Gary V fan because I think he's also into sneaker flipping, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Gary V. I mean, how do you not like that guy, right? He's pure
Yeah.
hustle and
Yeah.
screw college type mentality, and I gotta say I'm a supporter with that. So
All right. All right, that sounds good. Then yeah, on the same page there. So yeah, I'll what I say to all of my speakers. I mean, the stage is yours, and we have some people who are tuning in who are excited. So there's Mustafa right here. He says hi. Hey Mustafa, we're excited to have you here, and very excited to hear about Devin. So he's going to talk about sales research, and well, he took his company to beyond 25 million. So I think it's when Devin speaks that we should listen. So Devin, very excited to hear what you have to tell us today. I'll stop talking and yeah, I'll remove myself from stage and stage is all yours.
awesome, thank you. So as I've already stated a little bit of my backstory, I have been just a pure hustler and grinder. For anyone that's listening or in the audience paying attention, that you feel like you're just grinding and getting after it. That's me. It's been me my entire childhood and early adulthood, right? So 25 years old, based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. If you guys are here or near the Midwest, feel free to drop a comment, show some love. So, with knowing a little bit of my backstory, I've touched on this a few times. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know, right? There's actually a book about it, very famous book. A lot of us have probably read that book. And I want to dial in how we can do that in the digital age that we're living in. So, a little bit about Kennected. Kennected automates lead generation and recruiting processes through LinkedIn. We save time and simplify opportunity, right? But we also teach how to find the right people through LinkedIn. Now, today, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about our product. I want to bring value to you guys. If you need help on LinkedIn, you need lead generation and automation, by, of course, we'll help you. Happy to, shamelessly plug myself real quick. But today, I'm going to teach you without Kennected how you can find your dream clients online. I'm going to talk on LinkedIn. I'm going to talk on a few other tools that you should be implementing in your business as well that we use internally. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to start with where I know best, which is LinkedIn. So, on LinkedIn, it is the world's largest database, right? So, LinkedIn is the world's largest B2B database ever put together, 900 million users, right? And this little search bar is the most powerful search bar I personally have ever toyed around with, other than maybe Google, right? But on LinkedIn, you can get directly to a decision maker and cut out the middleman, cut out the gatekeeper, and get to who you need to and be in front of them, right?
Sorry, Devin. I'm
Now,
just going to interrupt you really quick because we cannot see your screen just yet.
oh, gotcha. Let's see here. New computer, they want me to open up.
Yeah, I have the exact same issue. I switched to a MacBook for well the second time in my life, and while I'm a fan, I have to do everything again, give new permissions everywhere. So I've had that same exact problem, I think, a
Let's
hundred
see.
times over the past week or so.
Let's see here.
So that's a very familiar problem. So I did ask if anyone's from the Midwest. I see Ridimi is joining us as well. If you're from the Midwest, let us know. That's where Devin is from, and he wants to network and connect with people from that same area, I'm sure, and wants to
Mm-hmm.
hear from you. And yeah, I see that people are tuning in. So for anyone, the other day we had some issues with the LinkedIn live stream. So that was either lagging or that kept freezing for some people. If that's an issue, just make sure you head over to YouTube because we're also live on YouTube. So if you just look on YouTube, you look for line.ai, that's where you can find us. There's our YouTube channel. Or if you head over to summit.line.ai and you opt in, so there's a form there. If you opt in, then you'll be headed prompted to our confirmation page, and that's where we're hosting a live stream as well, which we're hosting directly from LinkedIn. From YouTube.
Hans, it is giving me the good old you need to restart Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you guys the option that's listing. Do you want me to quit and rejoin so I can share my screen? Or do you want me to talk through it?
No, go for it. Then yeah, just quit, restart, and then I'll be talking to these lovely people right here. I can see Mustafa and Abidimir here, and I'm sure they'll give me good company. So then we'll see you in just 1 second.
Okay.
And yeah, exactly 900 million users. That is impressive. And I most definitely agree with Devin that LinkedIn is one of the better sources for finding leads, generating leads. And I don't know if any one of you tuned in on day one, day two, but we had Deepak from Pearl Lemon talking about how he selects his databases, where he gets his data from. And he mentioned that one of the things that he does is before he starts working with a company, before he potentially selects a company, he looks just at how well funded they are, which I think is a really great way of selecting the companies you work with, because in the end you want to make sure they have the right funds, that they have the proper funding to actually find the data themselves and to actually do the work instead of just piggybacking, I think is the right term, on other people, their data. So Mustafa asking for the YouTube link, so I can most definitely do that. Let me just have a quick look. And I will drop that on LinkedIn right now. So that is us on YouTube. And then I have to see, well, you're on LinkedIn, so you should be able to see that. So for everyone else who wants to potentially switch to YouTube, just because maybe LinkedIn is lagging, the YouTube link is on LinkedIn in the comments. I see that we have Devin back, so that's good. Glad to have you back, Devin.
Yes, and let's see if it's actually letting us share.
Sure, I was talking up to these folks about day one, where we had Deepak on from Pearl Lemon. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but he had a pretty interesting approach to how we selected data vendors. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, then I can most definitely recommend that to you, that you watch that back, because that was a very interesting stream.
That's awesome. Let me see
It was.
here. Still giving me the issue. Don't know why.
Hmm.
Let's see here.
And if that doesn't work, then we'll let Devin talk through it. And I think anyone is familiar with LinkedIn, so I'm pretty confident anyone can imagine what Devin will be talking about. Then for anyone who missed that day one, make sure you head over to our YouTube. You can find the recording there, but we'll also cut up each and every recording into the events. So we'll distribute event one, event two, etc. To everyone if you're opted in. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you head over to summit.line.ai, and that's where you can opt in. That's where we will provide all the replays. But what's even better, that's where we're also distributing the special offer. So as you potentially have seen already on summit.line.ai, we have a lot of sponsors, some really great sponsors. Tomorrow, for example, we have Expanded.io coming on. We have Mailshake coming on. Today, we have Kennected and Buzz.ai and Airtable. And you'll receive special offers from companies that are on our sponsor list if you opt in at summit.line.ai. So definitely something that I can recommend. And for anyone who's currently on LinkedIn, just want to repeat what I just mentioned, what I just told Mustafa, that the first 2 days, some people had some issues with the LinkedIn live stream. Instead, it was lagging, that there were some issues there. So if you prefer to watch this on YouTube live, you can click on the YouTube link that I just dropped in the comment right there, or just go to YouTube and search for line.ai. So you can see our name. Where is that? That is right there, Hans from line.ai. That is us. So look us up on YouTube. Obviously, subscribe to the channel, because we're about to do some really cool content. And then you can watch us there as well if LinkedIn is not working for you. So what we'll do is we'll wait a bit for Devin and see if he comes back. If he doesn't come back, then he's going to come back. But if he doesn't come back within the next minute or so, then I will play our beautiful event video, and I will see if I can help him behind the stage, behind the screen, to get his technology set up, fixed. And either way, it's worth the wait. As you probably have noticed from the introduction, Devin from Kennected, he's someone who took his company from zero to beyond 25 million, just by straight hustle and by doing the right research, by getting in front of the right people. And he is going to show you today exactly how he did that for absolutely free. So I, for one, think that is worth the wait, and hopefully you guys agree as well. He should be back in just 1 minute. He's actually back right now, and then we can see if the technology problems are fixed. If not, then he will talk us through it. And again, everyone is obviously familiar with LinkedIn, but I can see backstage already that everything is looking good. So Devin, I'll add you to the stream again. Welcome back.
Hey, I think we got it. We had to
That
completely restart everything.
that was
So
pretty fast though. So it sounds like you got yourself a good new machine.
yeah, no, what happened was I was in a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and my COO dumped a Celsius on my brand new
Right.
M1 MacBook. So yeah, anyone ever dumped anything on your computer, put something in the chat. You gotta love.
Well, I don't know if it counts, but I'm going to drop something in the chat then because I did. It was just the water though.
Yeah.
So actually, that's going to post from the YouTube channel. But yeah, I did, and I'm sure plenty of other people did as well. But yeah, I'm glad that you got your new PC fixed. So yeah, whenever you're ready, then we're ready for you to
Yeah.
share your screen to talk us through your process. And
Yep.
I'm stoked. I'm excited. Like I told everyone when you left, this is going to be worth the wait, and they stuck around. So let's do this.
I appreciate it, guys. All right. So let's go ahead and get right back to it. All right. So where I left off, we were discussing how LinkedIn is the largest B2B database in the world and how powerful this search bar is. And here today, I want to cover a few things that you guys can actually be able to dial in exactly who you need to be in front of. So, most people think they go to the search bar and just type in CEO. And they get all excited when they type it in, see people, and everyone here looks like a CEO, right? Maybe they start narrowing down connections or whatnot. But I want to start with the most basic trick on finding your ideal audience on LinkedIn, and that is called the Boolean search. So, and I always pronounce it wrong. I always get made fun of for pronouncing it wrong. So I'm probably saying it wrong just to throw that out there. But here in the search bar, you can use a series of quotations and keywords to string together exactly who you want. So with this search that we just did, we have 7 million people inside of here, right? So I'm going to tighten this up. I want CEO and SaaS, right? So I want them to be a CEO and have SaaS inside of their profile. Go ahead and hit enter. Took it down to 201,000 results, right? So let me explain this logic here. So this does work in order of operations. So it will search the profile for CEO first. And then if you use the word and, again, and has to be in all caps. You have to follow it by what else you want inside of the profile. So I use SaaS in this example, but what I want to challenge you guys on is you guys can put any keyword or verbiage that you could think of inside of here, right? So CEO and SaaS, this search is going to pull that it has CEO and SaaS inside of the profile, right? The word and will make sure that whatever follows it in the order of operations is inside of the profile as well. It is important to know that the and has to be all capital. Okay, the and has to be all capital, and this order of operations has to be typed in just like this. So the quotes, the and, the SaaS, how you see it is how it needs to be typed into the search bar. Again, think outside of the box here, right? So I'm going to help you guys out here. A lot of us, we have kids, we're fathers, right? Or mothers. So I'm just going to put dad inside of this, CEO and dad, right? 9,300 results that mention that they're a dad inside of their profile and a CEO, right? A lot of people just stick to key terms and phrases inside of the search bar when again, this is the biggest B2B database with the most data points on business professionals in the entire world. So this search bar will allow you to find anyone and anything you're looking for. Let me show you another example here. So let's say you're into football, right? So you could put football inside of here and find CEO and football inside of the profile, right? So again, this is the most basic type of search to dial in the audience, but very few people know how powerful that search bar is. So I just wanted to start with some basics. Now I'm going to further elaborate on how you can expand the search. There's a few other words you can use here. One is or. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to founder because this is a better use case. a CEO or founder. Now, this will expand 11 million results, right? So now it's finding CEO or founder out of LinkedIn. So, or we'll let it search and go either or. So it can be CEO or founder inside of the profile. But remember, it works in order of operations. So then you can and SaaS. So you can add and SaaS. So now it would be CEO or founder, and it has to have SaaS. And it'll tighten it up to 6 million, right? So you can think outside the box and tie together key phrases even without Sales Navigator. A lot of people think to get the most out of LinkedIn, you've got to have Sales Navigator, and that is false. If you know how to use this search bar using and or, you can get around LinkedIn and find exactly who you want. And again, guys, I really challenge you to be thinking outside of the box on the key phrases you put in here. And this is why. So you want 2 to 5 things in common with the person before you ever make an outreach on LinkedIn, right? And again, we're just talking about LinkedIn here. So on LinkedIn, you want 2 to 5 things in common. And one thing that you can have in common is a key phrase, right? If it's football, if it's SaaS, if it's dad, say, hey, I see you mentioned being a father in your profile along with being in technology. Go ahead and accept my connection, right? What is working on LinkedIn is people that can relate right away and understand why they got the connection. The days of, hey, browsing your profile, let's connect, those days are over. Those days are dead, right? The connection rates are very, very low, and you need to be intentional about who you're reaching out to. And this is a very easy way to do it. So I'm going to go explain further into the searching how you can be much more relatable. But go ahead and type in the chat if you got value of understanding how to use this Boolean logic and order of operations of finding keywords out of profiles. Now, moving forward here in connections, I want to give you a little tip. So a lot of people know what this is listening here, but first, second, and third. First degree is people you are connected with, okay? Those are people that have already accepted your connection request. Second, that is a friend of a friend. So if a friend of a friend, you have the common ground of having common connections, right? Third plus is a complete stranger, right? A lot of people don't know the difference between these, but I focus on my cold outreach to the people I'm trying to get in front of that have common connections. So I use second when I'm making my outreach manual or automated. Now here on second, that went from a few million to 353,000 instantly. Then you can go ahead and knock down location. So we'll just go Indiana. That's where I'm from. You guys didn't catch that at the beginning of the call, from Indianapolis, Indiana. Now I'm down to 7,000. And then you can start to add current company as well. So if you guys are doing an ABM strategy, account-based marketing, you're really dialing in on 25 key targets. A combination of tying together the key phrases and singling out those 25 targets, 50 targets, 100 targets, chunking those out inside of LinkedIn is the fastest way to get to who you need to be in front of without a gatekeeper or elaborate set of automations or elaborate tech stack to get in front of them. Does that make sense? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Put a 1 if that makes sense. So again, you can add a company if you're focusing down even further. Now, I want to talk about a couple other filters. A lot of people don't even realize that this all filter button expands. I know that sounds crazy for some of us on this call, but I run a company that's based around simplifying and automating LinkedIn. And it is shocking how people are like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. So going into the further searches, I want to highlight a few things. Here in past company, you can find people that used to work at your key targets, or if you're trying to recruit, or if you're trying to get someone of high level expertise, past company is a key feature to be able to base it off of their work experience. Also, school. So a lot of us went to college on the call, or just a lot of people in general that'll stumble across this went to some type of university. You could target your alumni, right? So you could say, find your school and target only people that are CEOs and founders that also went through the same college, right? So you have two things in common. You have common connections, and then you have that you're both CEOs inside the SaaS industry. But now you can add school or previous work history. I did forget one thing to highlight on past company. If you used to work at a big company like Eli Lilly or Ford or a big company, but now you broke out and now you're an entrepreneur, you could go target previous employees of the same organization, but now are entrepreneurs and CEOs, right? So it's a leverage point to be able to make messaging that much more customized and the outreach that much more customized. Now, on all of the other filters, they're really cool, but those are the really important ones I really want to highlight before moving into my next little segment about LinkedIn outreach. Now, we all have a rock star client, right? We could all think of a client that's been absolutely great for us and really knocked it out of the park for. So I want to teach you guys something. I'm going to simplify this search just to widen the horizon here. So in this search, I'm going to teach you how to use your best customers and target their friends list. Okay, does that make sense? So I'm going to go to all filters, and there's this one of connections of. So now that you have in the back of your mind who that perfect customer is, let's say it's John Smith, right? You're going to put that connection here. I'm going to use John Goodard here. So now anyone that pops up is only connections of John Goodard. So 293 results. So here I could be sending connection messages with either John's testimonial video or even just being able to use his name, right? Obviously, you need to disclose to the client you're going to use his name, but if you absolutely crushed it for them, it should be no problem. And the outreach looks like this. Hey, Jason Smith, just sending you a quick message. We're both friends with John Goodard here on LinkedIn. Check out what we're able to do for him in 6 months. And you send that to 293 people. One, they probably know who John Goddard is, right? They have that relatability, and it was very customized to them, being able to highlight a specific connection, right? This is one of the most powerful ways that is getting high conversions inside of LinkedIn currently. Being able to target off of successful clients or successful friendships or partnerships on your outreach. Go ahead and put it in the chat if that makes sense to you guys. Awesome. So again, that is here under all filters, connections of, and you always want second, right? And you can broaden this title and be a little more loose with this on your outreach. But again, you want 2 to 5 things in common before you ever make the outreach. And I use that rule without leveraging LinkedIn. And with that being said, I want to transition a little bit away from LinkedIn targeting. I want to talk about some other tools that Kennected has used in growing our company to just over 25 million this year. So SEMrush, SEMrush. Everyone knows or probably knows what that is here on this chat here. SEMrush is a website that will let you research the traffic sources of your competitors or your competition, right? It is a game changer. They have a 7-day free trial, full access to be able to pull down as much data as you can. But with the SEMrush, you could put in a domain of your competitor to figure out how their clients are finding them, right? So being able to research clients isn't always about how do you get exactly to the end destination, but how can they find you in their process, right? How can they be intentional about finding you? And SEMrush.com gives you that recipe and how your competition's being found online, right? So it will do a keyword analysis and tell you exactly how much traffic each keyword, each blog, and each phrase within their website is getting them the traffic. And if they're getting traffic, they're most likely getting conversions or clients, right? It will also give you the insight. That website will give you the insight on how to get and crack the code on other markets. So don't necessarily just put competitors in there and do the research, but put keywords that you care about for dream customers of yours. Again, we all have that top 100 or top 50 client list we wish we want, and we want as a client. Start researching, their keywords and reverse engineering how to get in front of them. If you out content the marketplace, you will end up in their path somehow, some way, right? So just for example, over 70,000 people a month are through the Kennected website at a 3% opt-in rate. It's thousands of leads every single month coming consistently, and we're not paying for the traffic, and it's exactly who we want contacting us. And it's all from reverse engineering, knowing who we want, to how they're shopping and how they're looking and how they're buying. And SEMrush is that secret tool to reverse engineer and find the knowledge and the traffic. So if that made sense, please put some comments here in the chat. And I'm going to move on to, we have 2 more bullet points on researching and finding your dream clients. So it would be a crime if I did not talk about intent data or the buyer intent resources, right? So here at Kennected, we use ZoomInfo. That is a very expensive resource. I'm just going to be honest. However, we did start with Apollo. Apollo will let you reverse engineer key accounts and find key data points on individuals that you're trying to get in front of, right? And inside of both platforms, their higher tiers, you could find intent data where these customers are found researching certain topics and be able to reverse engineer based on keywords that they were looking for your type of services. Apollo is much more affordable. ZoomInfo is a lot bigger and a lot more resources, but very, very expensive. I have used both. I'm not swayed on which one's better over the other. I think they're both phenomenal platforms. My team enjoys using ZoomInfo more than Apollo. That's what I do know. So we stick with ZoomInfo. So those 2 intent data platforms are awesome, right? It's just like SEMrush. You can reverse engineer and find the clients, how they're searching and looking and what they possibly might be looking for, right? So those 2 platforms I highly recommend. Now, moving to the website and the foot traffic, right? All of us are getting traffic on our website, whether it's 100 people or it's, 300 or 3,000 or, 100,000. We're all getting traffic. And tools like Leadfeeder and Mouseflow and these tools that you can integrate to be able to see the intent of how your customers are moving around are key to have embedded onto your WordPress site and seeing how your customers are potentially buying from you. So the combination of ZoomInfo and these tools that will track who and how they're moving through your site and looking at your products will give you better indication of where to put your opt-ins, right? Let me explain how we use it Kennected. We had a significant drop of lead opt-ins about 9 months ago. We integrated the Leadfeeder platform and found out that our call to actions weren't sticky buttons. And then, so we made them sticky buttons on the site, basically where the button would go away for the opt-in. And our opt-ins went from 0.5% to 3% and trending upward every single month, right? That's the difference between a few hundred leads and a few thousand leads, right? It's a massive, massive difference as you're driving this traffic, right? Now, the last piece I want to talk about is there's platforms that you can post on, buy into, and even use as free, like Capterra and G2, to be in the path of where people go to shop. We research everything, right? And G2 is a database. Capterra is a database for people to go do research and nerd out and geek out on who's the best and how they're the best and why they're the best. So really strong profiles on these platforms where people are researching the end product. Those are the top 5 ways to research your market, get in front of your market, and to get after your market. And just to top it all off, Kennected will automate anything LinkedIn related. It save you that time and resource. Again, you can find us at kennected.org. I appreciate it, and feel free, drop any questions here in the chat box, and I'll stick around for a few minutes.
All right, Devin. That was awesome. That was well, very much appreciated. I know that I'll most definitely will be watching that one back because there was a ton of info, especially, and I think also from what I saw in the chat, not everyone knew about those LinkedIn ones, and I like to consider myself someone who more or less knows what he's talking about when it comes to LinkedIn. But there was definitely some stuff in there where I thought, well, I gotta try that one out. So yeah, that was great. And I think that way you can set up some really targeted campaigns. Is that something that you did where you said, hey, listen, we are connected. These are our, our dream top 100. And that's how you went after them. Is that how you did it?
Yeah. No, well, it started with just whoever we could talk to, just being honest, right? The
Sure.
startup days, you just get in front of. But nowadays, it's all about who we're going to get in front of for the year and reverse engineering how to get in front of them. And all five ways that I just talked about, we implement and have full fledged running at Kennected.
Right. All right. All right. That sounds good. And then you're all doing that through Connected.
Yep, Kennected, organic content, and then retargeting with paid content.
Sure. All right. That makes a lot of sense. And well, I mean, it's not every day that we get to hear from a business owner who does 25 million how he's building his business. So that's definitely, and I think me, for example, I for one, I sometimes overthink things a little bit. Maybe you get too fancy, but in the end, it's all about being consistent.
Consistent.
Exactly, knowing what you're talking about when it comes to LinkedIn, doing your homework, and then consistently reaching out and trying to get in front of your clients, and having the patience to wait for SEO to kick in, and that's how you get your dream clients, and that's how you get to
That's right.
25 million.
Yeah. 25 plus. You just stay consistent. You start putting the right people on the bus after about
Mhm.
5 million. It's important to know that.
All right, that is good to know. Once I'll
Mhm.
get there, I'll tap you on your shoulder and ask you for a few pointers on that one.
There you go. Well, thank you
So,
guys very much.
yeah, definitely. So I'm just sticking around for a few more seconds just to see if anyone has any questions because I know there's a little bit of a delay on some of the streams on LinkedIn, etc. So sometimes some questions coming after. I know we also have a bunch of people on YouTube who are watching. That's where we have most people actually, and then we have several others on LinkedIn as well. I know people are watching on Twitter, and just a quick shout out to our power users on Facebook. We're also live in our Facebook group. They're also watching. So if you guys have any questions, you still have a few seconds to ask them to Devin. And if someone's watching the replay, they have a question about you, they have a question for you, they have a question about Kennected, how should they get in touch with you? How should they learn more about Kennected?
Yeah, kennected.org or kennected.io take you right to the site, answer
Mm.
any questions about the platform itself. You can also talk to our team through that website very easily. And then I'm accessible through LinkedIn and Instagram.
Mhm.
Just type in my name on LinkedIn, Devin Johnson, and then my Instagram is Devin Allen Johnson.
All right.
I do have a bunch of fake profiles out there right now. Me, I don't. I just hit that status, I guess. I don't know, but it's just my name, Devin Allen with two L's Johnson.
Right.
No underscores, no nothing.
That's good to know because yeah, we're connected on LinkedIn and hey, we're talking by email, but I haven't been following you on Instagram just yet. So I'll definitely look you up on the gram. So that's good. So it seems that there are no questions for now. So that means that people are probably blown away and still digesting everything that you talked about. So that's great. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're busy, so I'll let you go for now. Again, for anyone who has any questions for Devin, if you're watching the replay, if you want to test out Kennected for yourself, you can head over to kennected.org. And that's also in the scrolling in the bottom right here if you're not sure how to spell that. So that's it for today, Devin. Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
And then, yeah, we'll be in touch.
Thanks.
See ya. And then it's just me again, but not for long. Luckily for for you guys, I did my bit yesterday. If you want to rewatch that one, head over to YouTube, look us up on YouTube, or look up the LinkedIn event I talked about how to 3x your follow-up reply rates. If you want to hear more about that, or if you want to hear more from me, then you can look that up right there. But now it is time for our next speaker. He's already ready behind the stage, and I can already see his cool background. So I'll most definitely have him talk about that background and what that means, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just 1 second. So I'll make a quick introduction on that one, and then I'll have Mitch introduce himself a bit more. So Mitch is the founder of Buzz.ai. And Buzz.ai, they offer lead generation. They offer a whole set of tools for anyone who's looking to automate that lead generation, who needs more sales for their business. And they have some of the best offers that I have seen in the industry. I've dabbled in pretty much any tool, and I like to think that I've seen most of them. I've seen most of their offers, but the Buzz.ai one is one that definitely stood out to me. So, Mitch, I can see you backstage. If you just give me a quick thumbs up if you're ready to go on stage. Beautiful. So, here you go, Mitch, adding you to the stream. Here we are. You are live, and now everyone can see that background. What is that all about? Just 1 second. I'll let me unmute you. And there we go. You're
Yeah,
ready to go.
awesome. Hans, appreciate it. I mean, from our standpoint, every day that we come into the office is a big day, and getting our team excited and stoked up is a big part of what we do. Obviously, mediocrity is not something that we tolerate or stand for here in the office. We've got a team of rock stars. So every single day is about being legendary and being impactful and driving business, not just here internally, but for our clients. So that is
Right.
definitely the core of what's going on there for sure. And I
That is
appreciate
good.
you pointing that out.
Yeah, most definitely. That is something that stands out. So for anyone who cannot see that for some reason, it says F average be legendary. So I like that. I appreciate that. And I already talked about Buzz.ai, about your offer, about what it is that you do. So what is it that makes Buzz AI so legendary?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us has really been taking into consideration everything that our clients are looking for and what the ultimate sales tool should be. When we look at sales engagement, I think that there's a lot of systems out there. What we found is that most systems tend to be very fragmented. You need multiple systems tagged and looped together in
Hmm.
order to achieve a single objective. With
So,
Buzz, the ultimate goal is to tag everything in and make one frictionless system where we can incorporate data with LinkedIn and email as well. So some
mm,
of the core areas, and those are some of the pieces that I'll be touching on throughout
yeah.
my time with you guys today. So excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, from someone who has suffered from major tool overload and who still gets, he still wakes up sweating about Zapier errors and Integromat errors, trying to automate everything. That is something that I can most definitely relate to and appreciate. So, for anyone who hasn't seen the schedule, what Mitch from Buzz.ai here will be talking about how to automate personalization throughout your entire sequence. So that's something that we are very excited about, and yeah, just if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of background about yourself, how you got to found Buzz, and then I'll leave the stage to you. We have a bunch of people on YouTube, LinkedIn tuning in. One quick note for everyone: some people on LinkedIn have told me that the stream is lagging a little bit. So if you prefer to watch this on YouTube, then I've posted that link in the LinkedIn comments. You can head over to YouTube right there, and you can keep watching on YouTube. I know most of the people are currently watching us on YouTube right now, so that is just a quick note from our end. Then yeah, Mitch, the stage is yours. I'll stop talking and I'll go backstage, and then you're very much looking forward to what it is that you have to share with us.
Yeah, for sure. And Hans, I appreciate if at any point you jump in, if there's any amount of background noise that becomes distracting. Right now I'm in the pits, so
Sure.
we've got demos going on. A busy office here, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tried to space the team out behind me as best I could so that we can
that's good. Maybe
try
we
and
can
go
even get to pick
uninterrupted.
up on some of those secrets and on some nuggets there in the background actually. So I actually think it's a good thing. Don't worry.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. And I again, Hans, appreciate the time and letting us jump in and present
Hmm.
ourselves. As a quick introduction, I think that is a cool place to start on
Sure.
myself. I started out in sales. Like I think a lot of young guys do. I was knocking on doors, and a lot of young salespeople take that role, knocking on doors. Potentially the most laborious form of prospecting and engaging cold people is knocking on a door. But I quickly moved from that role, selling telecommunications, knocking door to door, into a role in logistics. What I found in logistics, and I don't know if anyone's in logistics, feel free to drop that in the comments. Definitely curious to see some of the fellow rock stars in that role or who have some experience there. But we found it to be very, very archaic. I worked at a startup, it was a brokerage. And what we found is that a lot of the communications that were happening were being done by direct dials. Now, we would never knock direct dials. We saw a lot of success come from it. But one thing that we did learn was that the introduction of automation was definitely the key, and being able to establish a sequence and a funnel and a well dialed in program for our reps and our team as the VP of sales there. Definitely understood that moving past direct dials and bringing in automation both through email and LinkedIn was sort of the keys. Using LinkedIn outreach, we broke some of the key rules, I think, at the time that surrounded cold prospecting and engaging 40 people that worked at a Fortune 500 company who sat probably desk by desk is something that I think a lot of people shy away from. Not something that bothers us, something that worried us. And in doing that, we were able to close and fill our pipeline with 25 million in business. So definitely saw a lot of success in that role. And it was really the eye opener, I think, for myself, as well as another co-founder who worked with me in that role. What we learned is that there was room in the market for a product that allowed teams to focus on high probability opportunities and remove the elements of cold prospecting as they knew it. And that, like I said, I think laborious door-to-door knocking, obviously, time consuming, picking up the phone and dialing, obviously time consuming, but being able to pick up conversations where you do already have an engaged prospect, we found to be a super successful way to pick up leads. And if anyone's using any automation right now, and I'm sure a lot of people are, I think it's become the new norm, definitely feel free to drop that in the comments. I do want to see if we can get some engagement as well, and be able to drive some conversations. Any questions anyone has as we jump through, feel free to pop those in as well. But I'm looking at my various screens, figuring out which direction I'm going to jump to now. But this is really the reason why Buzz was created. Buzz was created to take away the software exhaustion, and that's what we call it here internally at Buzz, the software exhaustion that impacts sales teams, jumping between tools. Hans kind of hit the nail on the head, I think, with the software exhaustion piece, all the Zapier connections, various APIs and pieces getting bolted together and creating all kinds of problems. So I'm just going to jump into a quick screen share here and figure out how this is going to run. Beautiful. So I threw together a quick deck. I mean, my objective on this call is to figure out if I can get away from this deck a little bit. As a part of this, I wanted to start with that introduction, which we jumped into. Today, I'm talking about full sequence personalization, how your team can maximize conversions with personalized multi-channel engagement strategies. We really want to focus on data. We want to focus on the channels that teams use, and we want to focus on how you can automate those processes. Quick introduction on Buzz. Again, I know I jumped into a few pieces, but Buzz and our aim is to be the easiest to use, only frictionless sales engagement platform that incorporates data, LinkedIn, email, dialing technology, and anything that your team needs to be able to 10x their sales pipeline. Buzz right now is the easiest to use and most effective data-driven cross-platform solution. I appreciate, Hans, your kudos earlier in the chat about seeing our platform and being really, really excited about what we do. We see our system as being well designed for any team, solopreneur to Fortune 500. We're backed internally by the most amazing developers who have helped us isolate and respond to the core engagement areas that allow our clients to improve their visibility, drive revenue growth, across their team, their platform, or even for themselves individually. Today, we see Buzz saving teams 42 hours per month. As we develop our platform further, we anticipate that number will continue to increase. Our goal, and I think for a lot of companies, their goal is to get more responses. That's what really allows you to focus on those high probability opportunities. So seeing our clients increase their response rate by 3x has been an enormous accomplishment, not just for us internally for our own prospecting, but for them as well. We've incorporated aspects of targeting, and I think that Devin, if anyone's sticking around from Devin's piece, he did a fantastic job outlining how LinkedIn can be leveraged to target clients. One thing that we do here is allow our clients to target social posts. And in doing so, we've seen an increase of engagement on those particular campaigns of 57%. With our data enrichment, we've seen clients increase their closing rates by 152%, and that's understanding your prospects, how to get in front of them better. So taking lead data from LinkedIn and being able to enrich it with things like work emails, direct dial phone numbers, as well as additional company information. We've seen that have a substantial impact, not just on prospecting, but on that bottom line revenue number, which has been phenomenal across the board. One of the other big pieces that we see, and we know that multi-channel outreach is becoming a new norm, is that it makes it easier for your prospects to stay in front of you. Our research suggests that 72% of customers are more it's easier to stay connected with 72% of your customers because you're using channels like LinkedIn and email instead of having a single channel of outreach. That's a little bit of a background on us here at Buzz. Jumping into what I'll be chatting about more today is the full sequence personalization. And really with this agenda, I think it's really important that we start at the start, and that's with the data. Again, following up, Devin's call from Kennected is a great place for me to be. The way that he outlined some of those points is really important. I think outlining some of the data sources like ZoomInfo, we see as an industry leader. We see Apollo as an industry leader as well when it comes to data. So I just want to kind of dive into that a little bit. Again, my aim, like I said, is to get away from this deck, show you guys some more exciting stuff. But did just kind of want to walk through and sort of set the stage here for what I'll be chatting about. So as we look at data, we also move into how you can better strategize your channels and understanding that there really is a strategy in selecting your channels. Not everyone's engaged in email, not everyone's engaged in LinkedIn, and in some cases it is better, to understand where you can best get in front of your prospect. I would say in every case it is better. And I'm curious, again, if we can get some engagement, anyone who's listening in and interested to drop in where they find their most success. Is it email? Is it LinkedIn? Are you still doing direct dials and finding that to be really successful? I'd be happy to kind of engage with that. And then I think the final piece is the messaging. So we look at data, we look at the channels, and then we look at what do we say through those channels to those people that we want to get in front of. We see the keys and as being personalized messages and adding value. Devin made a really good point as well, and that's something that I intended to touch on in my bit here, is that as you understand who you're reaching out to, it's important to be able to conduct your messaging with intention. And really try and drive value by understanding the pain points that are felt by those specific individuals, understanding the personas that you're targeting. If you are using intent-driven data, being flat out and really driving based on the intent that you see. I think ultimately, to the point here in the top right, is that cold prospecting is still a numbers game. I don't think that will ever change. I know that there's some controversy maybe in saying that, but in our world, we see cold prospecting as a numbers game. The more emails that are delivered, the better data that you have, your ability to move cross-channel and engage people in various platforms. We really see that as still revolving around a numbers game. The amount of messages that you can get out, all of that plays into the level of success and the amount of pipeline that you can build. But ultimately, the goal of revenue-driven teams should be to increase their conversion rates and maximize time spent with high probability opportunities. So while you play that numbers game, it's definitely important to try and figure out through A/B testing and through really experimentation what works well, what hits your products, where should you be getting your data from, what channels should you be using, and what messages are going to best engage that target audience. So you really got to look at it as though right now your competitors are using automation to find the right people, the right channel, and hit them with the right message. So the best thing that you can do is kind of stay on trend, or at least try and get ahead of it by using different levels and different systems. So jumping in, a little bit of the pain points that we see being felt by our clients is that connecting with promising leads has always been time consuming, costly, and frustrating. I'm going to kind of blow through this slide. I think that some of the key pieces are the siloed tech stack, the fact that it can be very expensive, like we see with ZoomInfo. These are expensive data sources. There's less expensive data sources. It's about finding what works for you and your team and where you can get ROI. So ultimately, as much as we can avoid doing manual data entry, those things are going to be enormous. We do want insights and visibility on what's delivering, what's landing in inboxes, and ultimately, like we say, trying to maximize our success rate and spend time with more qualified opportunities. Jumping quickly into data, I know that we got to really find the right people. We see this being done and as a part of our strategy in 4 ways. Persona driven, this is understanding your ideal who are your prospects, what do they look like, is a great starting point for teams that are just trying to figure this out. You want to consider individuals and companies as separate. The way that we see it, understanding who the companies are that you should be targeting. We think it all plays in together. Is it a revenue driven decision? Is it a decision based on recent funding rounds, as we've heard throughout the conference and the summit? Is it decisions that you're making based on the size of a company, the number of users who are within a particular function in a business? Is it a sales team that has 25 plus employees? Is it a solopreneur? Are you trying to engage different levels of people? Those we see as important. And then as far as individuals go, is there a particular location? Do you do business within a specific region? Is targeting within a radius of your business the most effective way to translate cold emails into results? So understanding that specific job title, specific function, specific seniority levels, does it matter how long someone's been at a company to understand the internal processes and be able to make an educated decision that's going to land the result that you're looking for? All of those things are super important. We've also got post engagement. We see social activity as being one of the keys. Are there groups that these particular individuals would be involved in within a LinkedIn community, as an example? Is there a group of people who are attending certain events that would be most engaged in your product or showing signs of intent? Those are some of the keys. Are you able to target your competitors or thought leaders? I know Gary V's come up a few times. Are people who are interested in your product and what you're selling interested in particular thought leaders? And is that a good way for you to be able to target and engage new business opportunities? Kind of tie those in, the post engagement, event, and social, and then of course intent marketing, finding in-market companies, and translating web traffic into revenue streams. We see those as being some of the core ways that companies are accessing data. So when we look at a full sequence personalization, understanding your target plays really nicely into the channeled approach that you take. We know, as an example, the likelihood of targeting dentists and doctors using a LinkedIn strategy is not necessarily the best place for you to perform your outreach. We know that sales teams, organizations that operate in a B2B capacity, they live on LinkedIn. And that's a great place for you to be operating and engaging your prospects. We know when it comes to email, it's one of the most scalable, probably argued as the most cost-effective outreach strategy, where you can send high volume direct emails, so long as you have the data set that's required to be able to engage those people. Some of the greatest things about email is that high volume. It's long proven and continues to be very, very viable for all businesses. The cost of email setup, domain setup, we always want to see companies do domain score monitoring and making sure that they are getting the deliverability rates that they're looking for. They're maintaining their online credibility. Those are super important. Some of the cons, as I'm sure a lot of teams run into, is you don't know where your emails are landing. It's important to get emails into the main inbox. You don't want to end up caught in spam filters. And you do want to consider as well that this is data dependent. And as a piece of the data portion, it is important to understand that not all data is good data. So we see this happen quite a bit. And you can get some really bad data sources. We think that time to data is really, really important when it comes to email. Are you buying large lists and waiting 3 months to conduct your outreach to those people? The likelihood of that data spoiling and some of that data going bad increases dramatically. And then we see LinkedIn. Again, this is that social presence that you have. You can kind of leverage, your past experience, your major wins in your career to have a level of esteem and a level of credibility when you're performing your outreach. You can put a face to face. You can engage people who are engaged with people who may know you, through past work experiences, through alumnus status. And those things can be really, really important for driving that credibility and getting your replies. But LinkedIn, we know that some of the good things about it is the social networking aspect. As you're performing outreach, you're growing your network. And we think that that is critical, again, to having that credibility. You can also send out messages and connections. So there's a variety of touch points you can get on LinkedIn. We know that profile views work really, really well. We know that engaging in our prospects' posts work really, really well. And that's a piece I'd like to throw out. Are we seeing that for those people who do perform LinkedIn outreach, are you engaging with your prospects beyond sending messages? Those things are really, really critical. When we look past that and we understand, what are some of the flaws in using LinkedIn? And we know that they exist. We know that there's volume restrictions when it comes to the amount of output that we can do as a team, whether using automation or performing these manually. These restrictions are going to affect any team of any size. We know that LinkedIn's UI and UX is not designed for sales teams. It's not designed for driving revenue. It's designed for engagement. It's designed, for some social aspect. But truthfully, if you look at LinkedIn beyond even Sales Navigator and within Sales Navigator, for those that are familiar with it, there is no UI for lead management. It's not the purpose of LinkedIn. And I think that that's really, really fair to say. Now, I've got 2 additional channels here that we're seeing become more and more prevalent. Dialing has always been there. We don't think it's dead. Phones still deliver results. While it can be frustrating, it can wear on your team. There's a big time requirement that's being expended. We know that building on-call rapport and being able to qualify prospects in real time is certainly core advantages that are unmatched currently in LinkedIn and email. We also see, video is another really, really big performer, a growing performer in the space. A lot of really good video technology out there that allows you to perform one-to-one video video outreach, where you can basically, as I'm sure you've seen, create a video, send it outbound to your prospects one-to-one level. You might be showing their LinkedIn in the background while you show the video. Get that really personal touch, gives you the ability to show some energy, get that rapport built. And it also shows that you took the time to go do it. We think that that has a lot of value. There is no automation in that. That's not the way that the market exists today. But also some of the pieces that are not so hot, again, time requirement, and that one-to-one can lack scalability. So for teams that are looking for scalability, we know right now as video exists, not the best place. Same thing with dialing, but email and LinkedIn, those are kind of the hot spots. That's sort of what I'll be focusing on as we jump through some of the final points and jump into sort of showing off what it is that we do here at Buzz a little bit more. And, it isn't to plug Buzz. I think that that's super important to say. I think that really the only way for me to be able to show what it is that we do is to really dive in and show you aspects of our dashboard that allow your team to engage prospects better, because we see it as being unparalleled. There's not much competition in that space today as far as being able to deliver results cross-platform, LinkedIn and email. So as a final piece, the messaging and full sequence personalization, it's critical. Finding the right people, finding the right channel, great standalone. But if you don't have the trifecta, if you're not able to get the right message to these people, it's a wash. Forget everything that you've done, every dollar you've spent, all the hours that you've put in. The results just won't be there. We need to drive messaging based on persona, company, profile, and testing. All of those are super critical. So from a persona perspective, it's important to understand the tone, what's going to be an engaging message, who are the people that you're reaching out to, do finances matter to them? Is it important to talk about ROI with the prospect? Is it important to talk about time saving with the prospect? Understanding who you're reaching out to and their true pain points is a critical aspect of sending messaging in a way that's going to relate and get results. And then I think we talked about this, a little bit, is the company specific prospecting. So when we're sending out messages, are we talking about things like funding rounds? Are we congratulating company growth? Is there a number of job postings that are available within the market? Are those signs that would show a company might be interested in our product? As a growing organization, are they going to have the funding to be able to spend? And this is sort of, again, an ongoing trend throughout today. And, we've seen that as being critical. And I think that's why it is so important to touch on again. And then, of course, profile specific. This is, very, very important. So persona, we know that we're sending it out to an audience of people who all look the same, in that, they're the same location, maybe they're the same job title, they've got a similar job function, maybe they're the same seniority level. And that's why we're sending out a specific message with a certain tone. But when we look at profile specific, this is a really cool tie-in to the Line.ai team and what they've been able to accomplish in a short period of time, considering, from Buzz's perspective, we see these guys as a market leading technology and market leading artificial intelligence and what they've been able to develop. So being able to send out messages that are direct to a profile, that operate as a personal icebreaker, that is critical, in our opinion, as a foundation of outreach. So definitely important to understand if you're sending out messages, if you can dive into that profile, maybe understand a recent post that they've put out, maybe understand different aspects about them. I know that, we've seen things today about Boolean searching for people that are dads. Is that a very specific thing that you can reach out to that profile, or is that a persona aspect? I mean, it's a toss up there, but I think that it's important to understand who you're reaching out to, being specific, and being able to convey value through being specific. And we don't think that can be done without proper testing. So having various messaging styles, trying different tones, engaging different call to actions. How do you get to the promised land? And what is that promised land? It's not always going to be, hey, do you have time to jump on a call? It might be, hey, I saw you like this blog recently. Do you have time to check out this blog that our team did? Do you have a time for me to present value to you in a different way than what everyone else in the space is doing, while they're sending you messages begging and begging and begging you to get on a call? Has your team found a strategy that works? And again, for curiosity's sake, I want to throw it back to anyone who's watching to kind of understand, have you taken those steps? Are your big strategies to engage in call to actions, or are you sending out content and driving value? We're seeing a world that's becoming a little bit louder. There's a little bit more noise across the space. So being able to drive, these core elements, these three pieces, the data and the targeting with the channels, and sending out the right messages and providing value and personalization as being the things that are going to differentiate revenue generating teams sort of across the board. And I see, Hans, that you guys use soft CTAs to open a conversation. And I think that I can definitely appreciate that. There's obviously an objective for the reason that you're reaching out. We don't think that there's a reason to shy away from, being forthcoming about why you're reaching out. You can also present value in that same way. And there's something to be said about finding the right person at the right time with the right message. So all of these strategies are going to work for different people at different times, at a different cycle in their business or a different stage. But Hans, appreciate you throwing me that one for sure. The next piece that I want to jump into, and I kind of bring that over a little bit prematurely, is sort of how do we do this at Buzz? What does our sort of system look like when we kind of talk about how we can operate and engage people in this way? We've got various ways that we do this. I mean, we've got what we consider our linear sequencing technology. That linear sequence sort of allows you to mix and match. It's very fundamentally based on duration, waiting a certain period, then send a message. And I think that that's the way a lot of teams operate in the market today. It is sort of the core of the technology that's out there. But being able to reciprocate and respond based on your prospects' activity and how they're engaging with you can definitely be really, really impressive for your prospects. And what I mean by that is, do you consider things like link clicks? If somebody's clicking on the content that you're sharing, does the messaging that you send to them change, or do you continue to send them the same content in a linear sequence? After speaking with Hans and understanding the audience today, I'm sure that, some of this may be interesting. Some of it may be things that you've heard before. But I think that the competence of the team and the folks that we're speaking to, I'm really, really excited to say that, for the most part, automation is probably a part of your day-to-day. It's something you've engaged with or engage with regularly, and being able to sort of dive in and pick these pieces up might be interesting. I'm happy if at any time anyone has any questions that they want to fire through. Happy to jump in and sort of entertain and answer anything that may come up. But I do, like I say, want to bring over our system and provide a little bit of visibility into some of the stuff that I'm talking about. And like I said, I think that this is sort of the best way for me to do this and present this, is to sort of bring over our smart sequencing technology. Now I see that this is loaded. Bear with me just one sec. The key behind the smart sequence is that we're able to understand and reciprocate the messaging based on conditional formatting. And we know that this exists. This isn't, the most earth-shattering thing that I'm going to show you, but I think that where this becomes really cool is that it exists in single channel outreach. by and large. So what I mean by that is that you'll see this as an email sequencing technology. You won't necessarily see this as a cross-channel sequencing technology. So what we're able to do within Buzz is, of course, take that lead source. That's the data piece that we spoke about at the very, very beginning of today's call, and then sort of dissect and break out things that we want to consider. And as we sort of spoke, I know there was a few things. I think that, you know, one of the big ones is considering if we're connected to the prospect that we're reaching out to. So in the messaging that we're sending out, is this person a first degree connection, a second degree connection, or a third degree connection? You know, those are going to be core pieces into how we send these messages. For people who we might want to run an email campaign to, as an example, do we want to first consider, is this person somebody I'm already connected to on LinkedIn? Because I'm going to send an email that might seem pretty cold for somebody who I've been connected to for 2 years. So I think that's sort of the key here. And if we are connected to them on LinkedIn, some of the barriers of having, you know, connection requests that get sent out are alleviated, because we know we can jump directly into sending messages with these groups. So that might be our next step. So we could go out, we can then send a message. We could wait a couple days to send that message. We could send that message right away. The keys to how these messages are sent, you know, is going to vary based on the lead source and being able to engage based on that lead source. So what we might see is a message gets sent out. We might, rather than sending out another message right away, engage with some subtle actions. These actions can be performed across, you know, LinkedIn. So these are going to be automated steps where our team might be going and liking posts of somebody who we haven't spoken to in a while. See, this is a subtle way to get some presence on someone's profile. You know, we might be liking some posts. We may endorse some skills. We see those as, you know, long shot steps that we would use later in a campaign. We may follow profiles that we're not already following. Better yet, we might run this campaign and wait 3 days before we send it. So after that step, what do we want to do next to those people that we're already connected to? We may want to send another message. We may want to follow up this way. If we're not getting responses after waiting a few days, we may then want to jump into sending an email. And this is that cross-channel step. So what we see with a lot of people is, after not getting a couple replies, they're either bombarding inboxes, which we see as a big no-no, sending 5-6 messages in a row. Definitely not the approach that prospects want to see you take. But being able to move cross-platform and increase engagement through subtle actions is definitely something that prospects love to see. Shows that you're engaged with their profile, shows that you know more about them. You know, it proves some of that credibility. So here we might drop in an email step where we consider if we have a predicted email. Now within Buzz, one of the great pieces, like I said, is that we're creating a frictionless platform that allows you to do things like enrich profiles to bring data points in from prospects that you've engaged through an additional lead source. So let's say you're bringing in, you know, a series of LinkedIn URLs, and you're going to do a bunch of targeting through LinkedIn. You may want to engage prospects LinkedIn first, then move over to email when you're already connected to them. That might be the opposite, and we'll look at that if we're not connected as well. But here we're going to enrich the profile, and then we're going to consider if we have an email or don't have an email, or we're just going to call it at that. And if we can't get an email, we'll send one. And if we can't get an email, all of those people would have received these 3 touch points on LinkedIn, and they won't receive a further one. So those emails can be fully customized within Buzz. And one of the key pieces of the email sequencing is, again, you can consider certain things that happen. So if this was a piece of content and you targeted a post that was put out by your team or a competitor, you might then want to send out additional information about that post or about similar content that you've seen, and try and drive value for your prospects. Hey, I saw you like this post, thought you might like this one, you know, and try and get a warmer introduction later in your messaging. Within an email, you might want to consider, first of all, if an email's opened, are the people that you're sending these emails to, are they even engaging with your email? And if they are engaging with your email, are they going as far as clicking the link that you've sent to them? And if they do click that link, how do you behave? Do you send a separate email? And we think so. We think that you do send a separate email to anyone who's opened it. We think you do send a separate email to anyone who's clicked your link. If they've opened it and not clicked on the link, these are 3 separate emails that should be sent out. You've either got somebody who's not engaged, not opening your email, in which case you move back to LinkedIn and send them a direct message on LinkedIn, or you've got people who are sending out emails and clicking on links, and they should each receive a different message. Now, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole on this because I could get sucked right in and continue to go. I think that the core here is really how do you respond and how do you react, and the value is driven by the personalized nature of being able to respond and reciprocate the actions and engagements that you're receiving from your prospects by sending out a cadence and sequential messaging that supports the level of engagement that you're getting. So those are really some of the keys. Is can we enrich emails? Can we get in front of them on LinkedIn? Can we get in front of them on email? And how do we drive value? So again, really quickly, how might we build this out if we're not connected to somebody? And if there's any questions, feel free, shoot them in the chat, questions or thoughts. If there's people we're not connected to, maybe we want to jump directly into messaging. So we brought a bunch of LinkedIn URLs. We want to jump into enriching profiles. We then want to jump into seeing who do we have emails for, who do we not have emails for. Yeah, so Hans, it's a great question, and you might even start there. So it segues really, really nicely, Hans, that question. Hans says, do you do in-mails? So for people that we're connected to within LinkedIn, and for those of you who know and some of you that may not, within LinkedIn, you cannot send in-mails to anyone you're connected to. Those are reserved specifically for 2nd and 3rd degree connections, so people that you are not connected to. So what we see and what we recommend our clients to do as a form of our best practices is allow them to enrich a profile. And here's a perfect example. Do we have an email or not? And if we don't have an email, that might be the instance where we want to send an in-mail. These are people that we brought in from our lead source. We're not connected to them. We don't have the ability to send them an email. Prior to sending them a connection request, let's send them an in-mail on LinkedIn. So we can send out that in-mail. Buzz has a unique strategy here when it comes to in-mails. We can target any of the profiles on LinkedIn that are open to receiving in-mails. And for those of you who know what that is, there's a particular function, and maybe I can break this out very quickly. We see this happen most on Sales Navigator. If we look at a lead filter and we jump into a list, let's take a look at the United States as an example. Within the United States, it's going to be a LinkedIn premium profile who has a unique setting that says that they're open. So Phil Gibson, perfect example. And sorry, Phil, if you're watching, just as an example, for example's sake, this is an open profile where we can target premium accounts and send them direct messages for free. You'll notice here, when I go to send a message, this is not going to cost me an in-mail credit. In-mails, again, are reserved for premium accounts. So only premium to premium. So for those of you that are using basic, you may not be as familiar with this function, but this is what that would look like. For those people who do not have LinkedIn Premium or don't have that setting turned on, those messages would then cost an in-mail credit. Sales Navigator at a basic level, you're getting 50 in-mail credits per month. Within Buzz, our system is designed to target the open profiles on LinkedIn first and allow our clients to send those in-mails without using any credits. But we also allow our clients to target profiles who don't have open in-mails and will access their in-mail credits. So for those of you who have in-mail credits that roll over month and can't figure out how to shake that 150 from your inbox, this is definitely a great way to be able to access that. But I think enough about that function. Really, it is a great question, Hans. Sending those in-mails drives engagement. This is a direct message into an inbox without having to be connected. It's another great form and great aspect of LinkedIn. for messaging. So again, right now, if we're not connected, we enrich the profile. We weren't able to get an email address for that profile. Then let's send an in-mail message. If that in-mail is not responded to, we don't get acceptance for further messaging, we can then jump over to a connection request. All of these steps, we can add delays, of course, and it is super important. Again, that testing aspect, making sure that you're trying to figure out what works best for your prospects. I can't stress that enough, is definitely important. But these are those steps. So then we jump to a second degree connection. Here, we're either going to get acceptance or we're not, right? And we can continue to send our messaging that way. But for those folks, let's jump down this leg here. We did get an email address. Now we can start off by sending an email. So let's jump to that send email step. These folks are going to get an email directly from you into their inbox. Again, we're going to want to consider, are they opening my email? If they're not opening my email, this could be a time when we want to send an in-mail again. And those are, so it's a great question. Our predicted emails and our verified work emails, that's what we're using out of the Buzz database. And just to touch on that, the Buzz database includes 225 million B2B profiles. We have 150 million profiles connected, LinkedIn, and verified work email. 60 million of that 150 million have LinkedIn, email, and direct dial phone numbers. So we've built a very, very robust database. We confirm that data every single month with 215 billion data signals. Those data signals are provided by outbound messages, so not running, checks and pings off of an inbox. These are actually emails that have been sent. We close a feedback loop that tells us that these emails are delivering, that tells us that these emails have bounced, these emails are no good, and that allows us to refresh and clean our database to ensure that our clients are getting a fresh look at the cleanest data every single month, which is super important, of course. And Hans, it's a great point. You can definitely look to profiles. If we don't have a predicted email, and that predicted email again is going to be a verified work email, we could use that. Or we could jump over and say, hey, does Buzz have a personal email? Our recruiting clients love this. And I think that it is important. I talk a lot about sales today. For our recruiting clients, the ability to send emails to a personal email when we talk about identifying candidates, targeting candidates, the last thing that they want to do is send emails to someone's work email, have a boss look over that person's shoulder and realize that they're entertaining job interviews. So from that standpoint, having a personal email is critical, and Buzz's ability to decipher and allow you to pick and choose between the data point that's most important to the outreach that you perform when you send your emails is also super important. So are you sending to the work email that if you upload data, you can upload work emails. If you bring in your Zoom info list, your intent data, you're drag and dropping CSV files into Buzz, by all means. If you're using, LinkedIn URLs and LinkedIn data, by all means, again, we can perform the enrichment for you. Those emails are going to show as enriched emails. And I really think to kind of start to sum some of this stuff up, the key to full sequence personalization starts at the lead source, starts at who are you targeting. That should be, everything else that you do should be based on that lead source. The way that you engage your prospects, the steps that you take, the messages you send, all of that stuff should be encompassed around the lead source. It should be direct. It should be intentional. It should be personalized. And those are going to be some of the really core foundations of a good campaign. And with that, I think we could continue to break this out. I'm going to kind of stop it here, I think, as far as diving into this, and just to sort of summarize Buzz, unless there's any questions about this before I take the screen share down. Hans, I know that we're sort of firing and prompting some good things my way. Do you think you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions that's listening in?
Here I am. Look at that. I have a bunch of questions, man.
All right, lay them on me, Hans.
Yeah, I figured I would just jump on stage with you, and then so usually I ask these by the end of the talk, but I think as we're still on this view, so we're still looking at this sequence right here. I think it makes a lot more sense, and it makes things just a lot easier for people to follow along. So I have a bunch of questions because I knew you guys were awesome, but now that like you said that you weren't going to go down the rabbit hole, but I would have followed you all the way down to that rabbit hole because I was having a good time. This is what I love the most. So yeah, one of my first questions, I have a bunch written down, is so you mentioned so you're enriching profiles, right? So one of the things that we do is we take a look at a total addressable market, which is also something that someone mentioned yesterday, and you're saying, okay, you know what? My total addressable market, they are 15,000 companies, and I have 20,000 contacts at those companies. But then again, okay, maybe the top five is a segment that I really, really want to go after. I want to just focus most of my efforts on there. And then those other segments, like, hey, if I can book a bunch of meetings there, great. But I don't want to fill up my calendar, my limited resources with, and it's going to sound a bit harsh, but with lower value clients. So one of the things that we do, we say, okay, we segment by, for example, headcount, and then to the bigger companies we do more manual outreach, and then with a lower headcount we do more automated outreach. So when you say, okay, I'm going to enrich profiles, I'm going to enrich something, do you have conditional routing there where you say, okay, based on some of the things that we see on this prospect or in this profile, they can go into a different route?
Yes, which I mean, it's an interesting thought. I think what we tend to see with our clients is that sort of starts at the lead source.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a piece that I kind of try and drive home a little bit is that Buzz, you can create an unlimited number of campaigns. So you could spend, you know, a couple hours in here building out 4 or 5 different sequences tailored and designed specifically for each of those segmented market groups,
Hmm.
however it is that you want to segment them. But as far as getting into profile specifics, it's not the mass demand isn't quite there yet. I know that your technology is super valuable and does a lot of really, really cool things. And I'm excited, as we continue to talk about how Buzz and Line can work together, how we can kind of address some of those things and make that a little bit, push that to the forefront for our clients. But really what we're seeing is the lead source is where the magic starts.
Yeah.
And identifying how you want to target that lead source is the core of creating, the future magic in Buzz.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's probably just me being a little bit lazy, where I want to say, "Hey, take all my 10,000 leads and do the work for me." But yeah, I can just upload three different CSVs instead and make three different campaigns. So that does make sense. But imagine I would not want to do that. Imagine I'm busy, lazy. You guys have it done for you program. Is that right?
Yeah, so with Buzz, we definitely have done for you. It's kind of where we operate a little bit more as an agency. Our focus is really on technology. Of course, I mean, the bulk of our team is on the tech side and developing out this amazing product for a company that's been around for 2 years. We've made a lot of headway.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think that that's super important. But I got distracted there by Nathan's question. But yeah, I
Uh,
think, hey, Nathan, I think that I got distracted by that piece. But yeah, with our done for you packages, I mean, we do everything for our clients. The idea is to be completely hands off. We look at ourselves as sort of an SDR replacement
sure.
at that stage. So we're really stepping in and helping and supporting with all of this that you've seen. That's the way that our team is performing and operating in the background for you, as a potential client. That's our thought.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'll almost definitely be jumping into this. So, and it's something I'll repeat by the end of our talk. But so far, every single speaker who has come on has made a sale, booked a demo, or signed a new client live on call. So, well, I'll be that client for you because we're actively looking for a new solution. And yeah, this is probably the one that we're going with.
Hey man, I appreciate that for sure, Hans. And we've been talking for a little bit and leading up to this call, so I definitely can appreciate that you see us as a front runner, the same way that we look at you guys as a front runner and what you guys are achieving. So
Yeah.
definitely excited about that.
And let's see, who knows, we might sign up Nathan as well. So what do we have to say to Nathan? He's asking, is there a maximum daily outreach per campaign? Because you mentioned there's unlimited campaigns. Is there a maximum daily outreach?
Yeah, it's a great question. So as far as the amount of outreach that can be performed, as of right now, our goal is to simulate human behavior. And, our goal isn't to operate as some of the largest, like the MailChimps of the world, if we can call them that, who send out 10,000 emails per day. Our system's designed to send out close to or more than what a high performing individual would do. So we can do 250 emails per day, and our system lets you send roughly 200 to 250 connection requests per day, per week on LinkedIn. And that's prior to leveraging some of our other technology. Those are some things that we can dive into a little bit more. If you're interested to see what Buzz is all about, Nate, we can definitely set something up and bring you in and answer a couple more questions that stem from that.
So yeah, and then if I want to scale that, so imagine I'm saying, hey, listen, I want to hire more Buzz as SDRs. I can set up a new account, and in the end, I think your monthly plan is $95, right? So then for another $95, then I can just add another seat, and that way I can add another email to that, another email channel, another LinkedIn channel.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And in that seat, it's not just the technology. I think it's important too to mention the enrichment aspect that we have. So if anyone out there is looking for data and currently engaging with data, you know that it can be very expensive. There's a ton of different sources within that $95 base plan that we have, our basic. We offer 1,000 enrichment credits today, and we've got some really interesting stuff that's coming around. For those of you that are interested in Line and Line.ai's technology, we've definitely got some. Yeah, everyone is. I completely agree. I don't know how they could not be. We've got some really, really cool stuff to chat about more as we get closer on a few things there. But those enrichment credits are about to become absolutely game changing for our clients. So
Right.
if you're interested to hear more, definitely feel free to pop in and shoot some questions about that.
Yeah. So how does Nathan get in touch with you?
Nathan, I'm going to reach out to you directly on LinkedIn.
Look at that. Doing the work for him. So that's good. So yeah, so that was me interrupting you. So if anyone else has any questions about this, then drop them in the chat right now. Otherwise, I will let you carry on, and I will leave the stage once again.
Yeah, Hans, I think your timing was perfect. I mean, as far as it goes, I could continue down the rabbit hole, like I said. I mean, I think that as far as full sequence personalization, our core goals are really to achieve that data portion, understanding who you're reaching out to, the personas, what's important to you about who you reach out to, and then creating, the sequence and the messaging cross-platform is really how our clients are driving success, and really what we see the future of sequence personalization is, with the inclusion of artificial intelligence products like yours, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. So right now, if like imagine I want to personalize that first email, I want to personalize my LinkedIn message, I want to personalize that email that I'm sending out next. So how deep does that personalization currently go? Because hey, at Line, and a bit of a spoiler here, will very very likely start integrating with Buzz. But what other options do you currently have? How deep can people go with that?
Yeah, here, let me jump back into that screen. So if we're looking at, let's say, one of our emails.
Because you already mentioned like funding rounds, intent data. So what can we potentially do around that?
Yeah, so right now, am I in screen share?
No, sorry, I got to do that for you. And I'm on full screen, so I was not paying attention. No, so if you can share your screen, I'll pop that back up for you.
Yeah, I just want to just to outline some pieces. So I know with CSV uploads, and that's what we tend to see people coming to the table today with things like funding rounds, we're able to pull in things like custom fields. So we could say something like, congrats on, and I'm not saying that this is going to be an effective message, but this is their funding round, and they did, 125 million, let's say. So
Sure.
they're a rock star. We want to reach out and say congrats on that. Every prospect that we reach out to will flip out a different funding round based on that custom field. We can
Exactly.
unlock
So
You know,
I can map anything as a custom field pretty much. That's what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. And then as data points, first names, last names, where they're located, company name, you know, how long have they been at a company, total career positions that they've had. You know, so if we're a recruiter, hey, I've seen that you've had this many roles, and it's going
Mhm.
to pull the unique
Right.
identifier for each of those. You know, you went to this college, this is your current job title. If we're targeting events, a series of events, we might pull the actual event name off each of the events that the target group is visiting. And like you said, Hans, I
Mhm.
mean, cat's out of the bag a little bit on that one. Very soon, the introduction of a plus line is going to be included in this list to allow our clients to send out icebreaker intro lines directly within their messaging using the
Mhm.
amazing technology you guys have built.
Yeah, yeah. I think I love that, and I think that's super relevant, especially just looking at what you've built here. And like you said, that is actually the exact same vision that we had when we started Line. And just to go a little bit off topic here, when I met my co-founders online, we started talking a little bit, and turns out that we had the exact same vision where we said, "Hey, we want to automate that SDR job because it's long overdue. We really need to automate that SDR job because it can be flipping horrible." And then you said those exact same words where you want to replace that SDR. And we love SDRs. We love people who are in the trenches every single day. But our vision is that a company only holds their best performing SDRs, and they operate the machines pretty much. So they will create those buzz sequences. They will use line, and they will be the ones driving the machine, and they will be the ones who are just top performers. And I think this technology is just the next step in that.
Yeah, for sure. And if I could outline, I think one other piece, I used this campaign, you know, as the style for today's chat, and I'm trying to bring something else in here. Um, Buzz is simpler than that. You have
Yep.
options in Buzz. I should outline that you can create these linear sequences, a little bit less conditional. Some of
Mhm.
those attributes of is something clicked on or something not. You
Yeah.
can create, you know, steps where you're sending out connection requests, enriching profiles, sending out emails. So it doesn't have to be that tough. For anyone
Right.
looking at what I showed you and saying, "Hey, what the heck is that?" You know, I couldn't imagine getting involved in that.
Mhm.
Keep in mind this is sort of our advanced use case that I thought was really relevant for today because it helped me tie everything together in a really, hopefully, a nice bow for everyone who tuned in. But this is really where a lot of our clients live. This is where they get a lot of success,
Mhm.
is being able to create simple linear sequences designed around LinkedIn and email and data all in one. And you know, I think it's an amazing fit for any team to be able to have that sort of flexibility between the two products.
Yeah, no, I most definitely agree. I mean, I think our audience, including myself, we get really excited about that more advanced conditional sequence building type stuff, which is really cool. Sometimes something that you're missing if you're either building stuff manually, and you got to be really good with Integromat or Make right now to make that happen. So you have to see that built into a platform. That's very exciting. But yeah, we're sort of going, off topic, I suppose, here, or off of course. So I think you had a couple other things that you wanted to go over.
You know, I was kind of putting a bow on things. I think
Sure.
ultimately, you know, Hans, I think that there's some really exciting stuff that we've got in the pipeline. I
Hmm.
spoke to some of the other founders, you know, and as far as things go, timing is just a little bit off on talking about a few of the other things that we have in the pipeline that are super exciting.
I was going to ask you.
Unfortunately, yeah, you know, I think you might know what I'm talking about exactly. I think I might have let the cat out on that one with you and showed you a little bit of some of these pieces, but very close. And if you know, if you're interested to see what Buzz can do, definitely follow us. I think we're about to make some really cool advancements beyond where we're already at, that are really going to shake things up for sales teams, for recruiters, for organizations as a whole. And if you follow us on LinkedIn or follow us on any of our major socials, you'll definitely be able to keep an eye on what we're up to. And you know, our team is super excited and constantly posting about these things as they happen. So you know, I could jump in once we're ready to launch it. It's going to be a heck of a lot
You're
a heck
this
of a lot
close to
cooler.
saying it, aren't you?
Yeah, I can't do it though. I can't,
All right.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
It's this close, Hans. I think, next
I
week we're going to be coming. Yeah.
I wouldn't want
Anyways,
I wouldn't want to get you in trouble. So I'll just I'll move on from that one. But it's good to hear that you'll be moving even further away from average.
that's right. Of course. Of course. One closer step to continuing this legendary path that we're on. And,
Exactly. That's
happy to be a part of, the summit today, and happy to have the opportunity to chat to everyone and kind of spread some of the word about what we're up to here at Buzz, and hopefully provide some valuable tidbits, on how you
mhm.
can start to approach your funnel with full sequence personalization.
Yeah. No, I most definitely think, well, I know people got a ton of value out of it. I know Nathan, for example, did, and I saw some other people who really enjoyed that, who are watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, etc. So I know some people they tune in a bit later because we're sending out emails throughout the day. We're posting on different types of channels. So if you wouldn't mind just really quickly, like 30 seconds, recapping what people can get from Buzz.ai, because we mentioned, okay, there's uh, they can build sales automations, but there's also the done for you. So who is that for? If you're watching this and you're thinking, hey, I'm not sure, what I should be going with. So who do you target with that? Who's the ideal client there? And how can people best get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. So Buzz is a system. Our goal is to be the most frictionless, easy to use sales engagement platform and automated system for outreach, across channels. So as we look at it right now, we're combining data with LinkedIn and email to allow our clients to seamlessly perform outreach activities, really allow them to keep time in their calendars. It is really the core. Focus on those high probability opportunities where time needs to be spent, and allow them to drive success. I think that as we look at our package levels, we started everything from our basic self-serve. Our clients do everything themselves, which is a great model for a lot of people. We move into our essential level packages where we are able to provide our clients with a lot of support, some hand holding, make sure that they're comfortable. A lot of clients in that area, they're either new or they really, really look for that exciting strategy that we can bring. And I
Mhm,
think sometimes we undersell on how strong and, really, really proficient our team is in being able to execute this stuff. And we
mhm,
see a lot of our successful clients live at that essential level. And then we've got our pro level package. That's where, it's hands off for our clients. We do a detailed onboarding for them. We allow them to sort of get their hands on deck and provide, their ICPs and different information. What do they like about their competitors? I mean, we really, really dive in to understand how we can position this, get the right messaging out for our clients, build out the right sequence, target the right people. And that's really for any size business who's looking to replace their SDR. It could be a solopreneur. In some cases, they're looking to expand their team, but they don't necessarily see revenue growth as being headcount growth. They
mhm.
see it as being more effective and spending more time with like higher probability opportunities, which is something I kind of have latched onto here today. But that's really what we see.
Yeah.
That's really what we see across the board.
I most definitely agree there, and I think that's the more modern approach, isn't it? So instead of saying, "Hey, we want to grow, and we're just going to add a bunch of people, and they're going to go through all of this manually," instead say we're going to leverage technology. We're going to make sure that technology is working for us, and instead I'm just going to hire like one or two A players, and we will just give them a full calendar, and they're going to start converting like crazy, and then that way you're able to scale in a much leaner way, which from whichever perspective or point of view you look at it, it's much more attractive. It's more attractive for investors. It's much more attractive when you're looking to exit, and it's much more attractive because it's just so much less stress on your operations and running that business.
Exactly. Enable your people to be legendary. If there's
I
a
like that.
takeaway, yes, sir.
I like that. I like that. Before you know it, we'll all be having that background.
That's right. That's right. I think we all
Cool.
deserve it.
Most definitely agree. So I have one final question actually before I let you go because I know you're busy, so I won't keep you too long. So what is single click retargeting?
Yeah. So within Buzz, I mean, we've got the ability to pull leads from campaign to campaign, or we can also retarget the same lead within a different campaign. If you want to see it, I think that the best way to do it is by demo.
Sure.
And Hans, it sounds like we've got a demo in our future here, not too far away.
Oh, I'm already sold. Don't worry.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Happy to run you through some things. And for anyone else that's out there, I know you mentioned you can check us out at Buzz.ai. That's our website directly, Buzz.ai. And if you want to check us out on LinkedIn, I'm quite sure you just search Buzz, and you're going to find us on there. Mm-hmm. But any way that you want to find us, if you go to our website and you click on book a demo, one of our rock star sales reps here, one of the guys on our team, our account executives, are always happy to take on a new call and a new challenge for sure.
Beautiful. That sounds good. So listen, I very much appreciate your time again. I'll let you go now because I know that you're busy. Then actually I also mentioned that he really enjoyed that. So actually I make sure that you jump on one of those demos as well. And maybe we can break a new record here in terms of amount of sales or demos booked live during the Cold Email Summit. That will be phenomenal, obviously. So Mitch, thanks again. Thanks so much for your time. And yeah, we'll most definitely be in touch.
Yeah, sounds great. My pleasure. Thanks, everyone that was watching.
See ya.
Take.
And now it is just us again, people, but not for too long. Don't worry. So we have our next speaker already waiting. Well, she'll be waiting very, very soon. And actually, please provide some resources. So if you let me know what kind of resources you are looking for, then we can most probably do that. So if you're looking on something specific from Buzz.ai, let me know, and then I can get back to Mitch, or you can just reach out to Buzz.ai, to their team directly, and you can get some resources from there. If you're looking for any other type of resources, then just let me know. We can make that happen. So, and let me just adjust my angle slightly here. Like I said, we have our next speaker coming up, and she is from Airtable. I'm very excited to announce that she will be joining us very, very shortly. She is SDR leader, SDR manager at Airtable, which is most likely a company that you've heard of before. And she will be next up, and she will show exactly what is working for her and for their team right now in booking demos, booking new leads, and essentially booking new sales for Airtable. So I always think it's great to get insights into a company like that, to a big, and I call them famous company like that, and see how they run their operations. So that's something that I'm excited about. So that is someone who we can expect next. And then after that, we will be joined by Eric. He used to work on the Grant Cardone team, and now he runs his own company where he helps others set up scalable lead generation engines. So that's something that is also definitely worth sticking around for. So those are the two speakers who we still have coming up and who we hope you will stick around for. Then for any other questions around what Buzz.ai just presented, or about the rest of our schedule, now would be the very best time to ask those. If no one has any burning questions, that will be all right as well. That would just mean that we would take a very short 2-3 minute break before we have our next speaker joining us on stage. So if you have any questions about where to watch the replay, or where to get the special offers, let me know. For anyone who is joining us on LinkedIn, just a message that I keep repeating: we are also live on YouTube, because from others we have heard that LinkedIn at times is lagging a little bit, so it is not the best viewing experience always. So that's why we also encourage people to switch over to YouTube. And in the LinkedIn comments, I have posted the YouTube link, and then you can just head over to YouTube yourself as well and look for line.ai, and you can find us there, and then you can start watching us there. So as we're waiting for our next speaker from Airtable, we'll take a very short break. I will play our wonderful video, hoping you will stick around for just a couple of minutes before we get our next speaker on stage here. That means that if you've been watching from the start, that means you can take a quick break as well. And then we will see you back in a minute or so. that was our break, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I really need to make sure that we start fading out that video because that was another hard stop that we had. So we have our next speaker already waiting. She is behind the stage, and I already introduced her before we went on a break. Her name is Gabrielle Blackwell, or JB, as people call her, and she is one of the sales leaders at Airtable. Again, I'm sure that many of you have heard of Airtable already. They're a phenomenal company, and I've used them in the past as well. Big fan personally. And yeah, so Gabrielle, I can see you backstage. If you can give me a quick thumbs up if you're ready to go on stage, beautiful. Then I will add you in 3, 2, and 1. There we are. You are currently live. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Third day of live streaming, so yeah, it's been a cool experience, and yeah, just very excited to see what you're coming here to talk about today. And if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself a little bit, I already did, but I'm very confident you can do that a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I do have an introduction slide. So
Look at
should I
that.
just
You
jump straight into the presentation?
Yeah, that works for me. So just a couple of notes for you, for everyone who is here joining us. So if you have any questions for Gabrielle, then you can just drop them in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn, because I know people are tuning in anywhere, everywhere. So just drop them in the comments. I'll make sure that JB sees that. I can call you JB, right?
Yeah, GB though. GB.
GB. All
Yeah.
right. All right. That's good. So I will make sure that GB will see them. So GB, you will start seeing this pop up probably on the bottom left of your screen. And then yeah, for any other things, well, I'll be backstage. You know where to find me, and yeah, that's it.
All right, perfect. So
Beautiful. Let's do this.
all right, I am going to, so real quick question. In
Mm.
terms of, can I share my screen? Oh, I can share my screen. Here we
You
go.
can share a lot of. You can share videos, slides, your screen, your background story.
All right, perfect. So yeah, I've got this fun little, can you see my slides? Is it okay? I'm going to tell you a secret, everyone.
We
It's
love
like
the secret.
secrets.
All right, I'll be heading backstage, and I will give the stage to you.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks, Hans. All right, y'all. Well, as Hans mentioned, my name is GB. I'll have an introduction slide in just a second, but Hans had reached out to me asking me if I was interested in being a part of this cold emailed summit. And so, of course, I couldn't say no. So before I start sharing the secrets, I'd love to hear where is everyone tuning in from? So feel free to drop comments there. And then also, if you have one secret around emails that you'd love to share, please do put those into the comments. But we will get started though. So in terms of who I am, right? Introductions before I actually get to that secret. My name is GB, as I mentioned. I am a strategic BDR manager at Airtable. I'm also a former gongster as well. I started in sales as an SDR back in 2015. In that role, I broke all-time company records for meetings set in a week, month, as well as a quarter. I've also held positions as an account executive, as a sales enablement manager. I've been just focused on BDR and SDR management for the past handful of years. Along with this, in my experience, I've also managed 3 turnaround teams. So that means that I'm going into organizations that already have SDR, BDR programs, and we have to find ways to turn that team around. So I've been able to do that 3 times now. And in my last piece here is I'm a total process nerd, right? So we're going to speak into that, and this will start to inform what my actual secret is. But let's dig into it. Here's the secret, right? The secret is there's copy, there's campaign, right? That's actually not the secret. This is a duh moment. We of course know that. There's a lot of focus in emails that has to focus on the actual content that you're putting into your emails. There's a lot of focus on the campaign or the sequence structure. My secret is more so about continuous improvement. And so we'll get into what this means exactly. But again, my thought is it's not always just about, all right, I need to have the perfect email. I need to have the perfect sequence. It's much more about how do I create a process in order to continually iterate as to what our best email, our best content, our best thing is, and how can we set up a process in order to refine that over and over again. So in terms of what continuous improvement is at a high level, right? It's a process of improving business outcomes. Some of these characteristics include like incremental small efforts, it's low cost, low risk, it drives efficiency as well as increasing effectiveness. What this can look like, right, in the BDR role or the SDR role is one of the main outcomes that we're likely going to have to drive for cold emails. Let me assume that not everybody here's a BDR and SDR, but within a sales world, one of that business outcomes that we're going to have to drive might be engagement. It's connects, it's conversations, it's meetings booked. And email is one part of the puzzle in order to be able to get to that business outcome. So in terms of like how continuous improvement can show up in emails, we'll get into that in a little bit. But the biggest piece here is, what are the small, teeny tiny things that we can improve upon that will over time drive really big and long lasting improvements? All right, so we'll keep on going. So like in terms of like, why does continuous improvement matter? All right, before I actually get into like, how do we do this? What does it look like? The reason why it matters, the biggest thing that I see managing BDR teams, SDR teams, or even having enabled teams in the past is, the first part is like preventing analysis paralysis. If you've ever wondered like, hey, like, how do I know which subject line to use? And you can spend all this time thinking and ruminating and philosophizing around what's the best way to structure an email, what's the best time of day to send it, right? Why not just test it out? Create a process in which you can figure out what's going to be best, what's going to drive continuous improvement. So like using this kind of method, make sure that whatever mental energy that we have, we're using it on the things that are going to drive improvements versus just using all that energy just to thinking about things, right? It provides a roadmap of how to operationalize success. When I was in SDR, I had a boss who came to me and he said, hey, GB, you're doing a really great job. Now, like what takes you to the next, what will take you to the next level in your career is figuring out how to operationalize your success. If you can get really, really good at figuring out what it is that enables you to be successful, and you get really good at articulating that to other people, and you get really, really good at sharing out like why that's successful with other people so that they can repeat that same success that you had, you will become incredibly, incredibly indispensable at your organization. You will create raving fans. It's a gongism, right? You'll create raving fans who will want to invest in you, pour into you, and who will see you as a multiplier person in your organization and on teams that you'll be on in the future, right? So this can be something that can be really, really helpful in career making as well, right? It focuses the attention on progress rather than perfection. So this kind of goes back to we want to make sure that we're not just thinking about things, but we're saying, we're going to give our best shot right this very second. And over time, we know that we will get better, right? And then it'll enable greater ownership and it'll become more engaging. I know for myself, if someone just tells me like, hey, just do this job this way, and I don't have a lot of ownership or I don't have a lot of autonomy to make it my own, I'm probably not going to be as engaged, and I'm not going to want to do the job as much as I would if I had some level of ownership and some level of, I guess, autonomy and creative agency as to how I got my work done, right? And as I mentioned, this last piece is it can really help you to stand out as a high potential employee. So we'll keep on going here. All right, so let's actually get into how do you do it? Like how do you get continuous improvement done? For me, it follows a 4-step process. You identify what opportunities there are to improve in the process workflow. Right? You'll plan how this current process can be improved upon. You'll execute by implementing the changes that you've set out in your plan, and then you'll assess how these changes are working, right? So that's the time where you're trying to figure out, all right, I've run with this plan, I've implemented these changes, and now, like, how are things going? Is it getting me that much closer to the kind of outcome that I want to have, or further away? So this is like the real high level, like how you get continuous improvement done. So like, let's actually break down a few things, right? Let's break down each one of these steps. So the first step of identifying, I do this quite a bit. This is like my whole job as a manager, is to try to identify like what's going on. What are the issues that are blocking performance? What are the issues what are the things that are in the way that could keep a top performer from becoming an exceptional performer? And it really has to do with figuring out figuring out what are the issues, diagnosing those issues, and then trying to figure out what are the metrics that are really going to impact performance. So I have, I'm going to give this to you, like, this is what I use to keep myself accountable. So when it comes to cold emails, The big metrics that I'm looking at and the things that I would look at to try and figure out like where is the issue or what is the issue, I'm looking at metrics such as open rate, reply rate, open reply rate, I'll get into that in just a second, as well as your email sentiment and your reply to meeting booked rate. So like open rate, reply rate, this seems pretty standard, right? Like what percentage of the emails that you're sending out are actually being open? What percentage of the emails you're sending out are getting replies? Open reply rate, why I like looking at this is like this can be a measure of, all right, when people are opening up your email, are they compelled to respond back? Yes or no, right? So like this gets more so into the quality of the body of your message and the call to action. Email sentiment, if you're using some kind of sales engagement platform that will give you that information back, I like using this just to understand like, all right, I recognize that not all replies are going to be the best of replies, but I really want to understand like what's happening like when somebody's actually responding back to our email. And the last piece of the reply to meeting booked rate, again, this goes back to, all right, we're getting replies. Like I've had reps in the past where they had like an 8% reply rate, but no meetings being booked. So I'm like, what's going on? And it wasn't until I was actually able to go and see the email sentiment that I could see, all right, of all the replies that we were getting, they were all unsubscribes. So this, like that right there, if I was only looking at open rate, open reply rate, I would have been led to believe that this person was doing a really great job potentially. But instead, what I recognize is like there's a much bigger problem that we need to address. And if we were to only look at those like high level metrics that such as open and reply, like I'd be missing a huge opportunity to help this rep be able to turn around their performance. Right. The next part of this is planning. So I gave the example of, right, we identified an example with a rep that one of the challenges was the reply, the metric that I was looking at was the reply to meeting booked rate. Now, once I actually went in and I started to figure out, okay, well, what might be influencing this metric? What I started to look at was, all right, what is the current state? And that's what this plan is going to do. You're going to map out your current state. We're going to map out a desired state. We'll figure out what's the metric to impact, right? What's the cause of the potential blocker, and then how to overcome this blocker. That includes like actions to take, length of time, leading and lagging indicators of success. Like why it's important to even have this is you want to be able to understand if you're going to make a change, like where are you starting off from? So at least you know which direction you're heading. So if you're heading in the right direction, you know, and you know why. But if you're heading in the wrong direction, you'll have the opportunity to know that ahead of time or early on, and then you can adjust your efforts to make sure that you're heading in the right direction. So using the example of the rep that I just had, right, an 8% reply rate, but we're getting little to no meetings that are being booked. When I go and I look at the email sentiment and I see 60 to 80% of the responses that they're getting are unsubscribes, that leads me down the path of, all right, so here's the current state. The current state is 60 to 80% of the replies that we're getting are objections or unsubscribes. Right? We want to reduce that down to 20% to meet with the average. That's the desired state. We want to reduce unsubscribe rates to 20%. The metric that I'm going to impact for this, right, is that unsubscribe piece and making sure that I'm seeing more positive responses or even objections instead, or referrals potentially. The cause of potential blocker, when I actually go back and I look through like what's causing all these unsubscribes, it was because the person was putting in the wrong personas into the wrong sequence, right? So it's like, right, that's the potential blocker here is we're using the wrong sequence. Super easy to fix. So how we're going to overcome that blocker is instead we're going to create very segmented list. All right, we'll have a CEO sequence, we'll have a customer success sequence, we'll build up those lists, we'll have very clear instructions as to which sequence that we're going to use instead. We'll run this for 2 to 3 weeks, right? And here's how I'll know if this person is moving in the right direction or the wrong direction. So like that's an example of this, why even having a plan becomes incredibly important in this side is you want to be able to understand, are you moving in the right direction or not? But also you want to be able to like communicate, like what are you doing and how are you getting things done and how are you going to improve to others. It'll demonstrate a lot of ownership, right? It'll demonstrate a lot of accountability, and you'll likely get more help and more support when you're able to be this prepared in trying to find some areas to improve upon when it comes to email. Now, the second part here is execute. So one of my favorite people to check in and to listen to is like Denzel Washington. And so he has this quote where I'm paraphrasing, but he mentions that like the difference between having a goal and achieving them is simply a matter of discipline and consistency. I put in this third piece of commitment, and I like actually have like a goals binder, and like I've printed this out and I've done it. But at the end of the day, like if you can have a plan, you can have a goal, right? You could want to achieve something, but if you're not actually executing, if you don't have the discipline to like stick with your plan, if you're not doing it consistently day over day, week over week, and if you're not committed to like seeing that results through, you'll never give yourself the opportunity to actually achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So with this, right, what's really important is you just want to make sure that you're following your plan, you're staying focused, and you're giving this experiment a fair shot. So let's go on to the next thing here. All right, and the last piece of this all is the assessment, right? So you want to understand, like, is there an improvement based off of what you've done, right? So you've come up with this plan, right? You've had the current state, you know what your desired state is as well. Like, is there an actual improvement that's happening? I say if it's yes, then like test complete, scale those findings out. If you're an individual rep, like this could be something that you bring to your boss. I love it when reps or share with me like, hey, I wanted to try out this new sequence on this one specific set of prospects. I was only getting like a 2% reply rate with the other messaging, but now I'm able to get a 5% reply rate. That's over 200% improvement, right? What will happen after that is I'll ask them, hey, like how do we scale this out? Gives them a great opportunity to get visibility in the organization, to have a hand in like how we generate success as well. And like who doesn't like some recognition and some acknowledgement and to be a part of like the success of something bigger than themselves. And then on the second part here is if there's not an improvement though, I'd say this is where we can revisit the plan as well as our assumptions. And if we need to, then we'd actually launch a new plan. So what this would mean is like, let's say that I had the theory that if we had started to switch out the sequence that was being used, or we switched out the prospects were going into the sequence, right? From the person at 8% reply rate and wasn't getting any meetings. If that did not work out, all right, maybe there's another problem that's there. Maybe there's something that I haven't actually considered, but nonetheless, I know that maybe the sequence or the prospect list isn't the reason why. And now I can move towards like, what is the actual blocker that exists that's keeping performance from being where it needs to be? So like this is the importance of having some kind of assessment that's here at the end to really understand, all right, is my guess around what's going to help me improve my email performance? Is it working out in the way that I would wish it would, right? And if it's not, now I know that that's not the reason why, and I can move forward more confidently and more competently to resolve like what's standing in the way. And then here's like a nice little bonus tip. Right. So bonus tip is I'd also say for emails, right? Like there's so much that emails can do to complement, right? Or to set people up for success. And one of the big things that I think is really great about emails is like when people respond, majority of the time they're going to be objections, hopefully, right? Unless you're just booking meetings everywhere. But I'd say the majority of email objections that I was getting were or email responses that I was getting were always going to be objections. At my company that I work at, like we use Outreach, and what's nice with them is they can help us to categorize like what are the themes and what are the trends in our responses. What I like to do with this as a manager is I get to figure out, all right, what are the kinds of enablement needs that my team might need? Or if I was a rep, I'd go, all right, here are the patterns that are showing up in my work. Like where can I start to augment or automate my process so that I can become like better and faster and more efficient? So like having these kind of categories of the different kinds of objection responses, this can lead me to the path of figuring out what kind of templates or maybe even what kind of sequences do I need to be building in order to respond back to these objections. So if I know that 50 to 60% of my email objections are going to be like, there's no clear reason. Someone just says, hey, I'm not interested. Maybe we have like a not interested sequence that runs for anywhere from like 15 to 30 days, that has some call steps in there, that has some email, or like has some persona or industry specific based content that the SDR, the BDR, the AE can load people up into. And this can be a way where we, one, make sure that we're not missing out on potential opportunities in meetings because it was an objection. But two, right, we're starting to scale out and automate some of the response time so that we're not constantly having to rewrite the same email over and over and over again. And then the last thing that I'll kind of share here as well is in terms of like emails, I'll be honest, when I was a rep, I was the kind of person who wanted to call, right? Like I never wanted to give someone the opportunity to say no to me, and I didn't have an opportunity to rebuttal that reason why it's a no. I also thought about like, how can I speed up my time to conversion, where that next conversion step is a conversation. If we're sending out emails and someone is opening, but they're not responding, and especially if they've opened up more than once, I look at that as an opportunity or a signal to go in and call. So it's not so much that this is the secret to email, but it's more so, hey, a secret about email can be, how can it complement the other channels that you're using? And I know there's another session on this altogether, but like one of the big ways that I've seen wins be generated for meeting generation off of cold calls or cold emails is using using the signal of email opens as a reason to call someone. They've seen your name, they've seen the content. If your message is relevant to them and you give them a call, it might not be as cold of a call as it would have been if you had never sent that email. So one of the big things that I do in terms of coaching my reps is, hey, every day, beginning of the day, look at anyone who has opened up your email, especially folks who've opened it up multiple times, and create a call list right away. These are the people who know they know your name, they know our company, right? You already have all your research done because it's right there in the email. A lot of the work is done. Maximize on the good work that you've already done in order to make sure that you're getting the most out of the efforts that you've been putting forth. So that's like, that's it. Those are my secrets. Those are all the secrets that are here. It's really nothing groundbreaking whatsoever. I don't know if there's any questions at all for this, or Hans, like, what did you think?
Yeah, I got a bunch of questions. Again, I keep stealing that first spot, so I keep doing that to people where they might have questions, but I have direct access to the speaker, so I usually get to ask the first question. But that's also a good thing because there's a bit of a delay, like some of the LinkedIn streams, for example, there's a bit of a delay there. So then usually people, they ask their questions a bit later. But first, before we get into the questions, I think this was the best presentation I've seen so far in terms of GIFs and in terms of the usage of that. So that was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I think everyone can appreciate a good GIF. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, I think so that was great. My favorite, I think, was the last one, the bonus one.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Have to drop a bonus tip.
Yeah, so just want to compliment you on that one. So one question that I have is, and I come from a, let's say, marketing, growth hacking type background, and then what you do, you have your growth experiments, and you give them an ICE score, and you have a look, okay, you know what, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm looking to do, and then you obviously track that, so you see, okay, what is working, but also what are some things that I potentially want to work on. So you're saying, I'm, with my reps, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, we're trying some different things. So how do you track that? How do you document that? Do you have an Airtable for that? Do you use a different system?
It probably could be better in terms of what we're doing. And normally what I do, like from a manager perspective, is with each one of the reps, I'll look for what are the areas for improvement that are going to have a big impact on their performance. Now, if it's email related, we will come up with an individual plan, and we'll usually keep that documented in our one-on-one document. Now there are times where I can look at like each individual on my team, and if I start to see themes and trends where it's not just a matter of like one rep on the team, it's now a matter of like 4, 5, 6 people. We're reaching a critical mass. That's where we would actually use some of our team meetings to brainstorm. So I'd say, hey team, like here's something that I'm noticing in the data. Like here are my theories around it. What are you seeing? And so the team will share their feedback. We'll come up with some ideas like, hey, like let's like brainstorm what are like 2 to 3 ways, and let's break out into groups. What are 2 to 3 ways that we can start to improve this? And maybe each team, like each Tiger team, can then run their own experiment, and then we would reflect back on that week over week. And so we'd have that documented, let's say in a presentation. I'm sure we could probably do it in Airtable base. It could be better in that way. But then we have everything codified inside of our sales engagement platform. So where we can A/B test. So this is how we can start to see, all right, like, are we actually progressing? What's actually working and why? And then, and we have it all documented in case somebody asks.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Or just in case someone joins the team later and
Mhm.
is thinking, hey, maybe we want to run that experiment, you can check, hey, did we already run that? Yes or no. So yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. So then someone else, and for some reason I can see it here, Wesley Greer, who was actually speaking on stage yesterday. I don't know if you managed to catch that one. She was phenomenal. She brought the energy and the value, so that was great. And she said, yeah, love that. Build your call list based on those interacting with you. And if you're using outreach, so that is something that you can potentially automate as well. You can just manually go through there. So
Mhm.
how do you approach a call like that? Because it's a bit awkward to say, "Hey, saw you open my emails. What's up?" So how do you approach that?
I approach it as if it was a cold call. Like I think there's sometimes like you don't always have to let everyone know everything that you know. And so, like
Sure.
seeing that's like one part of it. But let's say if I sent you an email, Hans, and I saw that you opened it, what this signals to me as a rep is, all right, there's something potentially something that interested Hans. I don't know. But the second thing that it tells me is you might be looking at your phone, right? Like, so if I give you a call, you might answer it. So it's much
Mhm.
more about I'm trying to opt, like if I recognize that there is an email open at the same time that I'm working, like that's a signal for me to call right away. It's the immediacy because I'm guessing that you're more available. Now, if you answer, I would just start off as I would start a cold call, right? If we've
Sure.
never had a conversation before, I'd say, hey, Hans, it's Gabrielle, right? Notice a few things, right, on your
Mhm.
profile. Thought you'd be really great to work to reach out to. Really curious, how are you going about this today, right? And of course, I had an introduction as to who I am, but
Mhm.
like that's how I'd start a cold call if I had not started or if I had not sent an email first. But I'd say like you don't have to change anything up and say, hey, I saw you open up the email. That's how I would do
All
that.
right. That makes a lot of sense. No, I really like that. And yeah, I think even like on some platforms you can even see whether they open it on mobile or on desktop, etc. But I mean that's getting into way too much detail. And then yeah, we talked about Airtable a little bit already, but I want to give you the chance, the opportunity to talk a bit more about Airtable. For those of us tuning in, there are probably not too many, but who never heard of what it is that you do. So
Yeah.
let's try and keep this cold email sales focus. So imagine I'm a cold email professional, cold email rock star. How can Airtable help me take that to the next level?
Ooh, how can Airtable help you take your email
And I
game?
know, and I'll give you a bit of a hint or some help here. I know some people they use it as a CRM, for example, as a
Yes.
lightweight CRM. Some
Yes.
others they use it to, and then we talked about like full sequence personalization. They use it to in combination with either Zapier or Integromat to automate their outreach. To you update your Airtable, this person I've emailed, etc. So is that something that you think is the best use case? That are other use cases you can think of?
I would say like here's where how my team is using Airtable today. Like the fun
Mhm.
like at a super high level, like Airtable is what a connected apps platform. So it's like one part database, one part spreadsheet, like, and you can create all types of automations off of it. So
Mhm.
the nice thing about this is whatever it is, whatever process it is that you're trying to execute upon that is relying upon some information, some piece of data, like Airtable can enable you to take that action, right? All within one space. So like things that I really like for Airtable for salespeople, if you have a small company and need a lightweight CRM, that's great. Like we have a more robust CRM that like pretty much everybody in the world, like a lot of people in the world use. And so like we don't need it as a CRM necessarily, but like one of the challenges with a sale, like say a big CRM would be it can be kind of clunky or it could be it can be hard to like edit information. And so what's nice with Airtable, especially if you are paired up like AEs and BDRs, is like you can start to account plan and take a lot of notes and bring in a lot of information all into one base. And it's much easier to edit that information. You can then take like automations to go, all right, cool. If I wanted to send a report as a BDR to an AE about all the things that I want to work, like I can set up those automations automatically. Like I send out reports automatically to my sales leaders through Airtable, and I don't have to worry about it whatsoever. There's certain things that we can also do in terms of if we want to build very specific lead list and we want to tag those out. We have like a lot of our like lead information and contact information inside of Airtable. We can tag it in certain ways, have that right back into Salesforce, and then we can create very clear campaigns and filter that out based on those tagging. So it just makes it a lot easier to like manipulate the data and take action off of it that we might not otherwise have if we were only in like a more robust CRM.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is cool. And as you were talking about that reporting bit, I come from agency background, and well, one of the themes of our cold email summit is how two worlds collide. So agencies versus sales teams. I know that a lot of agencies, they struggle with reporting. So for clients, you have to report back. Well, obviously you want to report to them, you want to keep them updated, and not every platform out there has really great reporting functionality. So I can definitely see a way for agencies to say, okay, we'll link up either through webhooks or through Zapier or through Integromat or whatever way they're comfortable with, or maybe their platform has an Airtable integration. We'll link that up to Airtable. Then we'll automatically send out reports with relevant info to both the team, but to our clients as well. So I think that is a pretty cool use case.
Yeah. So honestly, the use cases are like unlimited in Airtable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like we help. I mean, there's a sales CRM thing. There's content as well. Like I'm building out our entire BDR playbook inside of an Airtable base right now. So something as simple as even creating like objection handling battle cards, or if you want to see, all right, what are the best email responses to this specific persona? Like we can build out interfaces as well that will enable people to be able to quickly find the information that they want to find. So I've been here for like 5 or 6 months. I'm like, wow, like I can build apps now. This is fun.
Yes, same here. So, I mean, that sounds like a cool one that you just mentioned. So imagine people want to get that as a template. Can they reach out to you?
Yes. Yeah. Reach out to me. More than happy to help.
I will. So I'll be looking for a template. Then I would imagine that if people want to learn more about you, they can head over to airtable.com. But you're also involved in other things, is that right?
Yes. So I have my side hustle, Women in Sales Club. So it's honestly it's a community that's focused on empowering, enable, and seeing more women get promoted in sales leadership. So I do a lot of mentoring, along with that. But a really good place to like have some amazing conversations. I have a weekly newsletter as well. So be sure to check us out. We have a LinkedIn page. It's awesome.
All right. That sounds good. So listen, I'll let you go for now because I know you're busy, but I keep saying that everyone here is busy. But no, very much appreciate you taking the time. If you want to later share the recording with anyone else, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn. I'll send the recording to you. We'll make sure that we cut that up, so we cut it out of the rest, so you'll have just your individual recording if you want to share it internally with anyone else. So I'll send it over to you as soon as possible. And for now, just thanks a lot. We'll be in touch, and have a great rest of your day.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. And it is us again, but I keep repeating myself, not for very long, because we have the next speaker backstage already. His name is Eric Nowoslawski, which I assume I'm pronouncing correctly. So I see you nodding backstage. If you can give me a quick thumbs up if you're ready to go live to our viewers, Eric. I don't know if he called that one. Eric, are you good to go? Can you give me a thumbs up, some waving? He's nodding. I'll take that as a yes. So then adding you to the stream, and you are live. How's it going, Eric?
Hey, what's up, Hans? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. So, you're the one to last speaker of the day. We have one more event that I think is very cool that is coming right after you. But we're super excited today. We've already seen some really, really cool things, and a lot of value has been dropped, as they say. So if you would just really quickly introduce yourself, tell us, who you are, Tell us a bit about your background, because I think your background is super interesting. And I know we spoke, I think it was last week or the week before that. So I think you're doing some really cool and interesting things, and we would love to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we got the chance to meet over at one of these other events. And yeah, so my name is Eric Nowoslavsky. I have been in the sales and marketing world for about 5 years now. I started off as a kind of like a salesperson / lobbyist for the largest chamber of commerce in New Jersey, where in that chamber of commerce, really, I was loving it because I was a lobbyist. I was lobbying for energy reform. I was lobbying for education reform, for healthcare reform. And then there was this other piece of it where they said, we also need to do sales. And since you're persuading so many people politically, like, do you think you can do sales too? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess we'll just try to figure it out. Right. And so I tried honing my sales skills and all of this stuff, but then sales technology really stood out to me as kind of like the next tier of, what is possible, right? And so the way I kind of got into all of this is because I tell people all the time, somebody told me that if you were to put people's first names and email addresses into an Excel document, and then you can mail merge that into a Word document, which then you can merge and you can email people through Outlook. Yeah. And I sent like 200 emails in a day, which they were all, it was a warm list. Like all of the people knew who I was. They all had been to our events and everything, but I booked like 50 meetings off of that email.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I tell everybody with that story, like it was a warm list. They knew who I was. They were kind of expecting it. And ever since then I was like, whoa, this tech stuff is awesome. So then I just jumped right in. I started working for a tech incubator that was partnered with Grant Cardone, and I was running all of the outbound for all of the software companies within the tech incubator. And it was like so much fun because I was constantly showing people things that they didn't even know was possible. And I'm just like, oh yeah, we're just cruising along today. Yeah, easily we'll send out 300 personalized emails a day, and just, they're all hitting inbox and, no spam and all of that stuff. And so then a private equity company came to me and they said, this is really cool stuff. Do you want to keep doing it for startups, or do you want to do it for pre-IPO companies? And so I said, let's go do it for pre-IPO companies. So I do that I run Outbound for pre-IPO companies, but then I'll also do it for some other clients that I can take on as well.
All right. I mean, that's exciting stuff. And I think pretty much anyone, I know I would have taken that move as well. So startups are exciting. But yeah, moving to pre-IPO companies, that's beyond exciting pretty much. So that's really cool. And yes, so I know you're building stuff. I know you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're about to launch a new tool as well, some new sales technology that I, for one, most definitely will be checking out. So hoping to hear about that. Feel free to pitch that as well, because I know people who are here, they're all here and they're tuning into you for the sales technology part, because that's what we'll be talking about today. So yeah, I'll give the stage to you. I'll leave you here, and then we'll love to hear about what you have to say about sales technology. And yeah, feel free to talk about what you're building right now as well, because that sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just trying to share the presentation. Should I just share my screen?
I already saw that popping up.
Oh, okay, great. Okay,
that's cool. The one, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to outbound, everything can break down. Well, not everything, but mostly it comes to cold email. It comes to LinkedIn, direct messages, direct mail, and cold calling are usually kind of the branches. But this is the Cold Email Summit, so we're going to keep it strictly to cold email. And so we're just going to jump in. My name is Eric Nowoslavsky. We went over a lot of these things. I tell everybody that if I could have a opted-in phone number for every mobile phone in America, we'd all be billionaires. So I always put up my phone number every there, because I just want to be able to text people. It's definitely the best channel, but there's so much regulations and people don't like to be cold text as well. So it's not the best one to go to. And so my big thing is I help organizations use outbound in order to create inbound. And there's a lot of techniques to be able to do that. I was on the Predictable Revenue podcast talking about that, but we're not going to get into those strategies today. We're going to strictly talk about the tech behind email, because a lot of people think that email service providers are meant to send email, but these days Email service providers are meant to block email. There's really nothing else that they're doing. Yes, of course, they're sending the email, but they are, blocking a whole ton of email as well. And so I just wanted to start off with this this pirate funnel that I like to display so often. And we're really going to be focusing on this awareness step, right? Because we're focusing on cold email. Creating awareness around your product or service is awesome with cold email. If you're just starting out and you are going from 0 to your first 100 customers, the best thing to do is to use cold email. It's much cheaper than running Facebook ads. You're in control of the entire process, and you can get the same targeting, if not better targeting, than what's available on Facebook through a lot of the tools that we're going to be going over today. So when you're going on your cold email journey, there's questions that everyone needs to answer. And so I'm going to break up these questions as the problems that need to be solved around a cold email. Because if you look at like the MarTech landscape, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tool providers that you can use. And so instead of just saying like, oh, we use this tool for this, we use this tool for this, we use this tool for this, I'm really going to show you the approach that we take. And we always take the approach as, we have this problem, how do we solve this problem? And we clearly identify those things. So when it comes to email, usually it can break down to this. Where are we sending emails from? How can we ensure the emails land in the inbox? How can we reach our market in a reasonable timeline? How will we even know who to reach out to? What message are we going to send? This is the most artsy part of it all, but there's some tech that can definitely assist you. When someone responds, what do we do? And I'm going to end this whole presentation with what's going to change in a year, because I can see a lot of things are definitely out there. And yes, I do see some of the questions. And so I'm just going to take like a quick side. And so Michelle, we were DMing. Nice to see you. What's up? I do not add links into my first cold email. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But no, I don't add links into my first email. One, when have you ever clicked on a link from an email that you've never had? And then two, even though the guys over at Lavender, Will posted a TikTok about this the other day of like, when you're cold calling, you want to be as confident as possible. When you're emailing though, it sometimes is more beneficial to be a little unsure and to end your email with a call to action of like, would it be okay if I send this over? And using a lot more permission-based activities in your email. And then Airtable for data analysis, I believe that's for Gabrielle, but I just wanted to plug Airtable. I tweeted the other day, if you're paying for an expensive CRM, you could probably like replace the whole thing with Airtable. The functionality is just insane. But with that, let's jump in. So basically in this day and age, you have two options for sending cold email. You can either use multiple accounts on a large SMTP, which we're going to get into that a little bit, or you can use a dedicated SMTP. And so what you'll notice is not on here is you are not using a shared small SMTP. And so what I mean by that is like HubSpot has their own servers, and I happen to know, well, anyone can look at the code, and HubSpot is using SendGrid. SendGrid does not have gigantic SMTPs the way that Google has gigantic SMTPs, the way that Zoho Mail has gigantic SMTPs, the way Outlook has gigantic SMTPs. They just have SMTPs that they use, and similar to maybe like Amazon SES and things like that. So if you're trying to do cold email, but you use the marketing side of HubSpot for it, or you use ActiveCampaign, Constant Contact, MailChimp, not only is sending HTML emails just going to get horrible results for cold email, plain text is by far the best. Those platforms, if they see you cold emailing, they're going to shut you down. They don't want you to be doing that. So that leaves us with two options, right? And so a gigantic SMTP provider, like I said, is like Google, huge SMTP. There's so many people using Google's SMTPs. Technically, sending out a bunch of cold emails, depending on the way you do it, breaks their terms of service, and they might have some issues with them. But hey, if you haven't gotten at least one of your emails banned, then you're definitely not sending enough emails. And then I mentioned Zoho. So I'm mentioning Google because that's the best one, but it comes at a price. It's like $5 to $6 an inbox. Zoho Mail is like $12 for the year. So we're talking about $1 a month. And we're seeing on multiple Glock apps tests, we're seeing Zoho Mail is having the same deliverability report as G Suite. So we're actually testing out moving over to Zoho Mail in order to save on that money, because when you see this process, right, I'm talking about multiple dedicated domains. What I'm saying is, like, if you're sending from Line, we would buy getline.ai, goline.ai, lineoutreach.ai, and we would get these kind of different variations of the domain. And then we would warm up those domain and set up a G Suite or a Zoho account on them and use those domains for sending. We can only really put on 1 to 3 domains per 1 to 3 email inboxes per domain, and then we have to buy another domain and keep going. So if you want to send, 1,000 emails a day, you just have to divide everything by 50. We find a warmed up email address can send between 35 and 50 emails per day. And especially if you're using tools like Line to personalize it and add variables that Google is really going to like that you do. And so then if you want, whatever you want to do, if your TAM is 2 million people, you just have to work backwards. Okay, I want to have 2 million people. We have this kind of response rate. What kind of email volume do you need to book up your calendar is basically what you need to do here. So then the second option is you could have a dedicated SMTP, which is it's independent. It's nobody else's SMTP except for yours. You could do whatever you want with it, but I find that it's better for short sprints because they are a little bit more expensive. And you'll notice I put modular next to the multiple accounts. If one of your domains gets burned, you can just take it out of the system and then put another one in, and you're good to go. And the whole process is going to cost you $20 to get everything put back in. If you want a new SMTP, though, there's much more costs that go into getting a whole new SMTP if you burn it and adding it to a domain. And it's just really good for short sprints where you're kind of like, look, I want to send out 50,000 emails. I really kind of don't care what happens to this domain. Let's just fire away. And so I currently use AdCrux right now. MailWiz does this as well. Oh, and I got the domain wrong for this. It was massmailservice.net. Actually, that was one that Hans showed me. Really, really cool tool. So like I said, independent, best for short sprints. So how can we ensure that emails land in the inbox? Well, first we need to look at your technical setup. There is an alignment between your email inbox and your domain called the DKIM, the SPF, and the DMARC record. And all of those things validate that you are allowed to be sending emails from this domain and that you're authenticated to be doing that, especially the DMARC. That's exactly what it's for. And if you don't have those things set up, when you try to pass through somebody's inbox, the email service provider is just going to say, like, whoa, this looks like a spammer. They don't have everything set up. It's not configured right. I don't even know if they're allowed to send from this domain. We're either going to put them into the spam box, or they might just reject the whole email entirely and not even send it. Email warming is something incredibly important that if you're like in this cold email world, you talk about email deliverability every day, but I talk to people who aren't in this world and they have no clue what I'm talking about. And so what I mean by email warming is but just like I said, reverse engineer your TAM, right? You need to reverse engineer, like, what would a spammer do, right? So a spammer would buy a domain, they would set up an email address immediately, and then they'd blast 2,000 people with the same message over and over, right? And so you want to think, like, how can I get as many steps away from that as possible? So what spammers won't do is they won't buy a domain, and then they're going to send out emails, and then nobody's going to reply to the emails. And so what email warming does is you get put into a pool of people who they have raised their hand and consented and said, I want to warm my email address as well. Can our bots talk to each other? And so you'll send 20 emails a day, and you'll set usually a 30% reply rate. And so when you send 20 emails, then you're going to have, I shouldn't do math in public. Then you're going to have 6 people come back and reply to you. The email service provider is going to say, oh, this guy's definitely not a spammer, or this girl is definitely not a spammer. They're sending out emails. People are replying to them. That's not what spammers do. So you're going to get a good domain reputation doing that. So a couple tools to do that would be Gmass. That only works for Gmail or G Suite. It is a free tool, but it's only for Google. And then Mailshake is a good one as well. Instantly had a lifetime deal on AppSumo that like the growth hackers went wild for, like it was Burger King's 10 chicken nuggets for $1 kind of thing. People went nuts. So Instantly is pretty good. And then Lemlist is regarded in the industry as the cream of the crop. Like when it comes to email deliverability, when it comes to warming, when it comes to personalization, Lemlist is regarded as the best. It does come with a cost for being the best, but you know, like I said, they really are the best. And then we're going to talk about a little bit later how to keep domain reputation high by using great targeting and personalization. We're going to get into that. So how can we reach our market in a reasonable timeline, right? So if you're sitting there and you're writing 30 emails a day and you can't do any more than that, you're never going to reach your TAM. Right. So what you want to do is have multiple domain sending, or sometimes people will call this inbox rotation. And the tools that make this possible would be Instantly.ai, SalesRocks, Apollo, Lemlist, Mailshake. All of them have different variations of what I'm calling inbox rotation. Some of them you can upload a whole list and it will break apart the list between all of your email sending boxes. Some of them you have to do that manually. So like Apollo and SalesRocks, you'd have to do that manually, but it's as easy as just breaking up your list and kind of putting them into different accounts. It's really not that difficult to do. And then, like I said, SMTP, dedicated sending, where some of these tools here will let you send, Hans, I forget what Mass Mail Server will let you do, but like AdCrux will let you send like 8,000 emails a day. If you have a huge TAM, that's perfect. I'm going to be using them for a real estate project pretty soon. And so this is just how, if you have these multiple domains, like I said, reverse engineer your TAM, figure out what would it take to book up your calendar. All right, how many cold emails do we have to send? Cool. If we get 1 meeting for every 100 emails and we need 10 meetings, we need to send 1,000 emails, right? Easy math. Just work backwards from your desired state and then what you need to do to achieve that desired state. Okay, so now this is my favorite stuff to talk about. This is what is so overlooked, and I was trying to go through the other stuff as fast as possible because this is really where the business gets done. So keeping deliverability high is, a lot of it has to come down with the warming. A lot of it has to come down to the way you set up your emails, but also a lot of it has to come down to how well is your messaging being received from the people that you're sending to. Because if it's not relevant to them at all, you have a higher chance of being marked as spam, right? So if I have an offer that's made for software developers, but I email real estate agents about it, I'm going to destroy my email reputation, right? Because they're just going to keep hammering on spam the entire time. So I always say, when it comes to how will we know who to reach out to, there's 3 levels. 2 of them you can do something about today. The third one, you need to have a long time and a lot of investment to take advantage of. And that one would be dark social. And so it kind of is working like a funnel. Maybe I should have used a funnel graphic to be able to do this. So persona is by far the easiest. If you know, I sell to marketing agencies, I want the CEO of the marketing agency, they are SEO experts, and they have 10 employees. Awesome. There are tons of tools that will help you to do that. Sales Navigator, Apollo, Zoom Info, tons of tools are going to allow you to do that. The second level is predominantly where I spend most of my time working on for my clients is insight signals. What kind of signals is the company giving off to notify us that they are having some kind of pain, that they are in need of our product or service? And I use the example all the time of, we can scrape somebody's employee headcount, and if they have 100 software engineers and 4 DevOps people, well, now we have this employee mismatch that if we have something that makes the efficiency between the teams work better, that's a perfect reason to reach out, right? And it's like, not many people are using these kinds of like relevancy-based firmographic targeting, and so it just makes your message stick out so much more. And then dark social, we'll talk a little bit at the end, but it's really like getting into Facebook groups, getting into Slack channels, getting into WhatsApp groups, being present, and like being inside of conversations that you can't track on social, on regular LinkedIn or regular Twitter. There are these things happening every day where networking is happening, trust is being built, buyers are communicating with sellers, and it takes a huge investment, and I can't leave it out of this presentation. And so here are some examples of tools for persona data collection. There's so much out there that this list I easily came up with in 3 minutes because there's just so much out there to help you come up with persona data collection. Take a screenshot of this if you'd like. I'm sure you've heard of a lot of these tools. None of them should really be groundbreaking for you. But this is going to be even level 1. Hans, thank you for giving me permission. This is going to be level 1 for the tool that I'm building. All of these tools, what I despise about these tools is they claim to have the same level of targeting on LinkedIn, but then they don't actually give it to you. On my tool, will be done in a couple of weeks. What you'll be able to do is create a LinkedIn search and then just pass the LinkedIn search URL either through a Chrome extension, or you can copy and paste it into our form. And the same level of targeting you got on LinkedIn, I'm going to give you exactly those people. We'll be uniting email addresses up with those things as well as other data. And so persona data collection is going to be my level 1, because as I get into this insight signaling, you'll see how it's way harder to automate that. And that's why it takes somebody like myself or other people to set up these systems, because there's a lot more customization that comes with it, but it's a lot more effective when you reach out. So here are some examples of those persona data collection tools. And so when I talk about insight signal collection, we are looking out for anything that might tell us that a company is in pain. Did they have a huge hiring spree? Did they lose a lot of employees? Are they stagnant and they're not hiring any employees? Have they raised money, but the last time they raised money was 2 years ago, so maybe they're running out of cash, which might not make a good customer for you. What's in the news about them? Have they had a lot of social media growth? Have they had a product outage? Have they changed the prices recently? Are they trying on SEO? Are they trying on Facebook ads? Are they trying on Google ads? Where's their traffic coming from on their website? You know, I'm just rattling off all of these things that you can look up, and they turn into it. When you answer this question, you can use data to, again, reverse engineer your TAM. You ask yourself, what happens right before my customers buy, right? And so for Line, what happens for them is probably they start investing in some serious email tools. They start investing in a lot of data. They start investing in Apollo. They start getting their cold email game more tuned up. Actually, a great signal for Line, and actually Hans is probably already figured this out. If a company is doing a huge SDR hiring spree, that would probably be an awesome one. Or if account executives don't match the normal SDR ratio, I see an SDR ratio of anywhere from like 2 to 5 SDRs for like one account executive. And so if they're going like 1-to-1, now they're going to have to be really upping their automation game, because if they go 1 SDR to 1 account executive, is that SDR really cracking enough accounts for the account executive to have a full calendar on? Another trigger. So I'm hoping this is kind of making sense, because this is the where I spend all of my time, but it gets so granular and you got to get so custom with everything that you're doing. So I broke it down pretty easily from scrapers, company insights, and pain insights. So when I say scrapers, there's publicly available information on tons of websites around the web that you can even get like really industry specific, that they're posting stuff publicly that you would be able to use for your insights. So these tools all jump in and they can help extract data out of websites. Like right now, I'm publicly scraping Owler for a client. Like literally while we're sitting here, I'm taking information all public, and the rule with scraping is if you can see it, you can scrape it. If it loads on your screen, you're good to go. And so ScrapeStorm is one of my favorite. Octoparse is a new mainstay. Scrapebox is a tool that's been around for 12 years or even more than that. And if anything, that should just tell you how awesome that tool is. How many software products stick around for that long? There's no monthly subscription. It's just $97, or the discount code it's $67, and there's no subscription, and it's still such a killer tool. Awesome tool. Instant Data Scraper is the easiest browser scraper I've ever used. Texel, Phantom Buster, competitors, but sometimes Texel does one thing that Phantom Buster doesn't do, and vice versa. Appify, a little bit more difficult to use, but a lot more customization. ParseHub is similar to Octoparse. Simple Scraper is similar to Instant Data Scraper. Clay.run is a new entrance into the game that I have to check out, and so is Bardeen, but I use both of them. I'm still learning my way. So then company insights, some awesome stuff here is like on Indeed, you can check out hiring data. You can use Appify to scrape that hiring data. SimilarWeb gives us some insights onto the SEO rankings and kind of like the SEO plays that some of these companies might be doing. So does SpyFu. I love actually using SpyFu's API. And then I'll like in my messaging, I'll be like, so I saw that you had 47,620 site visitors last month, and most of them came from Men's Health. You know, how did you achieve that backlink, right? And like, they're like, what the hell? Like, where'd you figure that out? Sales Navigator is a great tool. I'm actually coming out, and this will be the plug that I was planning on. I am coming out with a Notion document on everything that I know about Sales Navigator, and I'm calling it Sales Navigator Secrets. Totally free. I'd love to give that away to everyone. It's so close to being done and hosted, but I'll post my phone number if you want it again. PitchBook is great. PitchBook and Crunchbase are really good. PitchBook is kind of like this Crunchbase on steroids. They've got a lot more information. Partnerbase is awesome. You can see what kind of tools integrate with other tools on Partnerbase. Just check it out. It's really interesting. Owler again for company insights, and then Prospects, which should actually probably be in the scrapers column. Pain insights, Diffbot, Alien, and Cheetah IQ are like scraping news to tell you pain insights about what's like publicly happening in news channels about these companies. Ahrefs and SEMrush can give you some more interesting characteristics around their marketing and exactly what they're trying to do and get those like really public signals. Hexamatic I use a lot for website changes. So if you changed your website, why did you change your website? I get a little alert in my actually an Airtable that tells me, hey, they just changed their pricing or they just changed their website. Go check out, you know, why. And then StackShare, it has publicly available information around what technology companies are using, which if your technology works perfectly in with somebody else's, like Line, I would assume works great into Outreach. Or actually, I wouldn't assume, it definitely does. Then somebody brings on Outreach, you know, perfect. Let's go talk to them. And so this isn't necessarily like a one-size-fits-all strategy. I use all of these tools to bring together super relevant information around, you know, before my customers buy my product, they engage in these activities. And then I use these tools to find these activities happening publicly at scale. And now it's not going to be as big as your total addressable market, but at least we get some really nice relevant messaging done where that's way better than, hey, I saw that you raised a funding round, which I think I even make fun of. Oh no, I'll make fun of it in the next one. I'm going to go through this one kind of quick. Dark social, just untraceable ways that your customers are making buying decisions and they're asking peers for help. Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, Telegram channels, LinkedIn groups, texting group chats, Twitter spaces, Slack channels, all places that if you're not in these private group chats, you really need to get in. In my Slack, I'm in 20 private group chats that are just awesome. One of them would be called a great place to find communities. I think it's called Hive Index. So they've got over 1,200 communities listed on their platform. And so if you want to find an industry specific community to join, Hive Index is a great place to check out. Nothing can be done about dark social except for just being inside of it and being relevant and getting in there. Not so much cold email, but I needed to mention that this is a part of the future. So then quick, what message are we going to send? Try to lead with insightful relevance. This is kind of the way that I stack my emails. I try to lead with insightful relevance. So, hey, I noticed you raised money. You should spend it with me is, in my opinion, the laziest relevance, quote unquote, outreach that you can do. It's like everybody's doing it. People's inboxes get completely blown up because of it. We want to get more insightful, right? We want to try harder. We want to like compile that data, like become as relevant to them as possible so that you stand apart from the crowd. Now they can see this part in the preview message. So this also drives open rates as well. And then we always keep the messaging short. My friend Tom Slocum was also talking about keeping the message super short, underneath 200 words. That's awesome. You can use lavender.ai to take a data first approach to the art of copywriting. And then I actually end the emails with personalization. So I know a lot of these tools kind of talk about themselves as personalized first line writers, but we're seeing far greater results with leading with that relevance and then personalizing as a PS line. Because if you lead with that relevance, they're like, the buyer is like, wow, that's like really interesting that they looked up my company that much. You have that short, punchy messaging, and then you end with that personalization. Oh my gosh, you just knock it out of the park, right? Because you have that insight that you've collected at scale. You have that super punchy messaging. I help X companies get this ROI in this time frame, right? And then you say something like, and by the way, I noticed you live in Miami, Florida. Have you ever tried this restaurant called KYU? I've heard good things about it. It's just a beautiful message if you can get this whole symphony playing correctly. And so I'm using personalized first lines as my personalized last lines right now. And it's working great for us. I know some people say it drives open rates, but that's fine. I'm actually going to skip over this one in the case of time. For call scheduling, use Chili Piper though, freaking great product. So real quick, what's going to change in a year? Full disclosure, recently I became an advisor for a company called Gated. And I truly, truly believe that Gated is going to disrupt the way that we do cold email. And what Gated does is if you're not in somebody's contact book, you send them an email, it's going to send you an email straight back saying, hey, I noticed you're not in my contact book. And then the copy is something like, I'm trying to clean up my inbox. If you really want to reach me, donate $2 to my favorite charity. But if I should be expecting your email, you can click here. So there's always a way for your friends and colleagues to get through. And I think from a cold email perspective, this will really, really disrupt the industry. I don't see why somebody wouldn't adopt this technology, especially if you're a Fortune 1000 budget owner. I have no reason to believe that you wouldn't adopt this technology. And I think we all need to be prepared for what that's going to look like. And I highly suggest probably just paying the fee, because the reply rates off of that in my testing have been far higher after you pay the fee. So I actually do think it's a great, a benefit to both sides, the senders and the receivers. I truly believe cost of contact data is going to get pretty close to zero. For those of you who might not be in this like contact data space, one day somebody came to me and they said, can you create a list of private equity companies, incubators, venture capitalists, angel investors, and all of these things, and just make the best list in the United States that you possibly can. In 4 hours, I was able to pull together 45,000 email addresses of angel investors, VCs, and private equity companies. And I did it all automatically. Like basically, I just watched my screen running, doing it. And I think this stuff is going to keep getting easier. And I think the cost of contact data is going to get pretty close to zero, which is also then going to pull down that cost of that relevant insight data as well, which I'm sure we'll be seeing. And social selling and dark social will become more prevalent. I think an SDR in 2 years isn't going to be hammering away cold emails. They probably still will be cold calling. There's still excellent results getting from cold calling, despite what some gurus might say. But I can see SDRs in a sales organization crushing it on TikTok. I could see those being the best people that companies hire. I could see SDRs running podcasts. I can see SDRs becoming more of a marketing focus than an outbound sales focus. And I think we're already seeing a lot of those things coming true today. And Hans, that is me wrapping it up. I'm just going to plug one more time that I am going to be releasing Sales Nav Secrets very soon. I was trying to get it done last night for today, but I didn't quite make it all the way. The domain will be Sales Nav Secrets. I do own that. But you can always text me at 551-482-2855. Works for WhatsApp as well. Or my LinkedIn profile is right here as well, and I'd be happy to share it.
All right, I like that. Not too often that people drop their no phone number on their ask.
Oh yeah, call me, blow me up, because I want to be able to text you.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. It comes at a price, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, that's good. And yeah, again, repeat myself, it's not often either that someone showed me a bunch of tools that I never heard of. I have a bunch of new tabs open. I'm a tab hoarder. I made notes for myself on stuff to do, and I like to think that everyone who joined us did the exact same thing. Has just been taking notes, taking screenshots, and is now just begging for that replay, because I know I'm going to be watching that replay. I'll be sending it to the internal team because I got a bunch of really cool ideas.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad. Thank you so much.
No, I mean there's some really great stuff in there, and I definitely agree with pretty much everything that you're saying. I think Gated is a pretty cool product, and one of the main benefits probably is that if you, like from our perspective, we're looking to book meetings. It almost gives you like a really fixed CPL that you can work off of. So you could say, okay, you know what, I know out of I know from my total addressable market, all these people are using Gated. It would be cool to know if they're using Gated or not beforehand. I know, I reached 1,000 and actually now my reply rate is really close to 40, 50%. I'm paying $2 for it. So my CPL will be like $4 or $5. And then that is something that is super attractive to me to know that look, I'm doing math live on stream.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I was talking to some people about Gated, and they were like, do you think people are actually going to pay for the emails? I'm like, do you guys even know what the costs to acquire a customer is? Like, there are people giving out $125 AirPods just to get a reply. And, like, of course I'm going to pay. They limit it $2 to $10 right now, and they might like increase that down, but I don't think so. But like $10 to get a meeting, or at least to know that they're not interested, great. Because I do see it boosts the reply rates like crazy. Because in the buyer's mind, they're like, yeah, they paid $2. All right, I'll respond to them. So
yeah, exactly. I know a company who was selling introductions to enterprise company at $1,000 per. So I'm thinking, $10 that's gonna be pretty solid offer to get those meetings. So I have a lot more things that I want to go over with you, but like you said, we are running short on time here, so I'll do that on LinkedIn. Then I know you already dropped your phone number, but just to repeat it, if people want to get in touch with you, what should they get in touch with you about? Like, what are some main things you can help them with, and how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so a lot of people are starting to get to know me as like the list guy, but so I can help you build lists, but really what I want to help people do is like that relevant, insightful research at scale thing that I was talking about. Those insight signals. If God, I wish as soon as somebody hires 10 SDRs, if I just knew that, I would be able to just crush my outreach. That is exactly what I help companies do. And we create those relevant pain signals that we gather for our clients. And that's perfect. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, eric@growthenginex.com or 551-482-2855. Also, I'll be sending out sales nav secrets to anybody that wants it.
Beautiful. Listen, thanks a lot, Eric. We'll for sure be talking, and very much looking forward to that to the sales nav secrets.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Great. Have a good one. Bye-bye. All right. Then, if you enjoyed sales technology as much as I do, then you most definitely want to stick around for the next ones, because we have our next speaker backstage, and this will actually be a pitch event. And we have Surrender backstage, who is ready to pitch us on Salesgear.io, which is some of the latest sales technology that I recently discovered. And that has been blowing me away. Then again, it's not very new. Surrender isn't new to the game, because he is been involved in Adapt.io, which is, I'm sure, a very familiar name. And he will be talking to us about how Salesgear, how his sales technology can help you change the game and help you book more meetings. Surrender, I can see you backstage. If you can give me a thumbs up or wave at the camera if you're ready to go live. Beautiful. Then I'll add you to the stream. Here we are. How's it going, Surrender?
Hey Hans, how's it going? Great to be part of this event. Some great insights and great learning.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I told Eric, I'll be watching all the replays plenty of times. I'm just thinking in my mind already where I'm going to, have some study hours that I'm going to block in my calendar, because I'm going to rewatch everything. So there's some really great events, and no, we're very excited to have you. I already did a bit of an introduction. I mentioned, your current venture or adventure, Salesgear. I mentioned your background at Adapt.io. If you wouldn't mind just giving it a bit more info on who it is you are and what you've been up to these past few years.
Sure, I'll give a quick introduction about myself. So I'm co-founder and CEO of Salesgear.io. This is the second company that I've co-founded, and the company that I founded before this is Adapt.io. which is a B2B data provider and has been ranked number 1 on G2 for market account intelligence for 3 years on the trot. And before Adapt, I was running the engineering operations. I was the 4th employee and running engineering operations for a company called Owler. And Owler is a pretty familiar name in the space as well, and which was recently acquired by Meltwater. So we've been in the sales tech and data business for a while. And Salesgear.io is a sales engagement platform. So we knew when I was doing talking to customers over at Adapt.io, the demand for a sales engagement solution was so high that we started to build a sales engagement solution within our platform. And then we recently launched it as a separate company, and it's been a year since Salesgear.io has been running. And currently we have 9 employees on the team, and we are a very fast moving engineering heavy startup, building more and more features as we speak.
That's my favorite kind of startup, the fast-moving startups. So yeah, it's funny that you mentioned you used to work at Owler, because Eric, who was on before you, is scraping Owler as we speak. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, I'll leave the stage. I'll let you do your pitch for Salesgear and let you show our sales tech lovers here why it is that Salesgear is special. You have about 12-13 minutes. Those are the rules for pitch events. And yeah, that's it. So the stage is yours.
Great. Thanks so much, Hans. Hello, everybody. And I'm trying to share my screen here. Great. Can you all see my screen? I hope yes.
Yeah, we can see your screen. I added to the stream, so everyone should be able to see that.
Okay, got it. Great. So this is Salesgear. I'll quickly give an introduction about us. So Salesgear is a multi-channel sales engagement platform. And using Salesgear, you would be able to engage with prospects across email, LinkedIn, and phone call. And what we believe, why we the basic foundation on which we built Salesgear is that the conversion rates increase multiple times if the outreach happens across different channels, and it happens over a period of 2 weeks and happens multi-touch. So that is the basic principle behind which we created Salesgear. And the foundation on which Salesgear runs is called the sequences. Sequences is your playbook. So you can build a playbook on Salesgear that includes a combination of email, LinkedIn, and phone call, as I mentioned. I'll show you a quick example of what a sequence is. So you can create your own sequence from scratch. You can just build your own sequence from scratch, or you can use one of the sequences from our predefined templates and then create and customize it. So we have a template available for outbound specific sequences, or inbound sequence, or a follow-up sequence, and you can then customize that. So I'll show you a sample sequence. So this is an example sequence that has 8 stages that is distributed across 10 days. The different stages that you can add to a sequence are automatic email. So you create the content, schedule the email to go out on a specific day, and it goes out without any intervention. And then you can do a manual email, which is similar to the automatic email, but you can make edits to this before it goes out. And then there is the LinkedIn tasks. So there are 4 types of LinkedIn tasks you can create: viewing a profile, sending a connection request, sending a message, or just interacting with a post. And then, of course, you have the calling. So you could make a call also from as part of your sequence. And you could perform the LinkedIn task and also the call task all from within the platform. So you don't have to leave the Salesgear platform to perform any of your tasks. And you could also add a custom task in case you want to do something outside of these 4 channels. And creating the email is very straightforward. So it gives you the typical Gmail-like composer, where you can create content that has your attachments, and you can add images, etc. And then you can also insert personalization variables like first name, last name, and all the other common fields. And if you have a very specific use case, you could also use one of our 16 available custom fields. The one cool thing that we're trying to work on is an AI-based writing assistant. Now, this is a work in progress, but we have 2 of our modules ready. The first module is generating a subject line. So you've created the content of the email, and now you go ahead and generate a subject line. So this generates a subject line based on the content that you've created, and you can reload and get as many different combinations as you want. And then you can use these subject lines to do A/B testing and see which subject line works best for you. Right? Now, that is one of the modules. The second module is rewrite with AI. So what this does is it rewrites the entire content for you. So not all of us are great at writing copies. So if you need different variations of your same email, just captures the essence of what you wanted to say, but does it using different words, different phrases, different tones, etc. And that is what the rewrite with AI is. So you can create again as many versions, different versions as you like, and then again put them on A/B testing and see which of these performs best for you, right? And that is about the writing assistant. And once you've created your sequence, so you have stage 1 is automatic email, stage 2 is another follow-up email, and then you have a LinkedIn task followed by another email, and then there's a LinkedIn task to send a message, etc. So once you've created all of this content, the next step is to add contacts. So you can add a single contact, or you can add multiple contacts. You can just drag and drop a CSV, and the field mapping would automatically happen, and the contacts are enrolled into the sequence. Now, I'll show you quickly how the LinkedIn tasks are performed. So once you've created your sequence, the system generates tasks for you, and you can perform the LinkedIn request from right here within the Salesgear platform. So you have this LinkedIn task. The profile loads automatically within the window. You have the notes that you created right here. You can just copy and send the message to the LinkedIn profile. And once you've done, you can mark this task as complete and move on to the next task. And then it loads the next profile. Again, it has the content available right here. You can copy and paste it and be done with. So you can quickly go through all the LinkedIn connection requests and the message tasks using the Salesgear platform. And then in terms of calling, so you can use the dialer. We integrate with Twilio, but you need not necessarily do anything on Twilio. Everything is available on Salesgear. So you would be able to buy a phone number, or you could also add your own phone number if you own a mobile number, or if you own another VoIP number. You can just add that number to the calling list. And then once these numbers are added, you can start making calls from Salesgear. And the phone call task is pretty straightforward. So the dialer opens right here, and then you can choose which number to call from. So it lists all the different numbers that you have on the system, and then choose which number you want to make the call from and dial, and the call would go through. Once you've called, so you can record all of these calls available, and then look at the data as well, and see what kind of results have been achieved. So this is a filter where you can look at all the insights. So you can see all the previous calls, you can see the logs, you can see the notes, and you can also go through the recording of the calls for review and process improvement. That is on the calling. And then quickly talking about our reporting. So you have reports available for all the team members, and you can filter it by date, you can filter it by different team members. You have the basic metrics here, and you also have insights available on a daily basis. So the number of emails sent, the open rates, the click rates, etc. And then you have insights available at a sequence level as well. So you can look at every sequence, what is the number of emails sent, what is the open rate, what is the click rate, etc. All of these information is available right here, and you know which sequence and which step of the sequence needs improvements. And quickly talking about our integration. So we integrate with top CRM and marketing automation systems. For example, I'll quickly show you HubSpot. So you can log every activity, like an email being sent, opened, replied, the phone calls being made, and the recordings, all of them could be logged in HubSpot. And you can also pull the contacts automatically from HubSpot. So you can add a list and then enable the polling from the list like every 10 minutes, or you can schedule this time. So contacts would automatically be pulled from this list that is on HubSpot into Salesgear, and then automatically be enrolled into a sequence as well. And the field mapping is all available out of the box, and there is the setup. It takes just a couple of minutes to connect your HubSpot account with Salesgear. And you can also map the owners, the HubSpot account owners, with Salesgear account owners, so that you have that available as well. And also in terms of other integrations, so we do connect with Slack. So and you can also configure on Slack what events to log. So you can choose the channel to which the events will be, event notifications will be sent, and you can choose what kind of events get sent to the Slack channel as well. Another thing that we've also built is multiple inboxes. So you can connect multiple inboxes to Salesgear, and then you can choose within the sequence which inbox to use. So in the sequence, there is on the settings section, you could add multiple of these inboxes. So one user could have multiple inboxes, which enables scaling. So if you're able to send like 200 to 250 emails a day from your Gmail inbox, just by adding multiple inboxes, you would be able to scale it. So you can add another inbox and get it up to 500, and scaling can happen very quickly. So that is also a feature that has been widely requested by our customers, and it has worked really well for some of our users. And I'll and to talk about an integration that's available on Gmail. So this is your Gmail Composer. So we have a Chrome extension that can be used to enhance your behavior on the Gmail inbox. So if you're sending out an email to somebody, you can pick a template from one of your saved templates and populate that content right here. And what you can also do is add this person to a sequence. So you can add this person to a sequence and say, okay, if the person does not reply to this email in 2 days, then automatically send this follow-up sequence. So all of this can be done from within Gmail. The system will start looking for replies as soon as the email is sent. If there is a reply, the sequence is not triggered. If there is no reply, the sequence is triggered. And you can also track every email that is going out from your Gmail, and you can also log all of these emails into your CRM. And we also have a live feed that gives you a list of all the activities that have happened. So somebody opening your email, somebody clicking on your email, and unsubscribing from your email. So you have all of these available here, and you can also filter by specific activities and take a look at the live feed. And when somebody has opened your email, and if they've opened your email multiple times, you can look at all the different times at which the emails are opened. And if somebody has opened your email multiple times, that shows good intent, and then you might want to prioritize that particular prospect. This can also be done using our triggers on the platform, where you can add a trigger to say, if somebody has opened your email more than 5 times, for example. So if the open count is greater than 5, what you could do is you can create a phone call task. For example, you can say, okay, now this person has is a hot prospect, now create a phone call task for this person. So what happens is, if somebody engages with your content, and if you're engaging with if they're forwarding the emails to others in the team, and if the open count is increasing, it creates a phone call task, and the team can directly go and call this particular person. So that is possible through triggers. And then, the usual features, the really required features of adding the unsubscribes, having an auto BCC to log to your CRM, and then email settings to configure, the maximum number of emails you send, and also the delay between emails. All of these configurations are available. You can also use a branded URL to send out emails to your prospects to improve your email deliverability. And talking about email deliverability has been one of our key strengths. So we've been working hard to ensure that the email deliverability is taken care of compared to other systems, and we are working every day to try and improve that to as much as we can. And we have also seen users who have been using other tools, such as IP-based sending, like using HubSpot or a SendGrid or a Mailchimp, and then once they move to Salesgear, they've seen their deliverable open rates increase by at least 5 to 6 times more, which shows that the deliverability has increased significantly. So that is the key value proposition that you get by using Salesgear. And yeah, I think I've covered most of what I wanted to cover in this quick demo. And to all of you who are on this call, I have an offer that you get as well. So this is our pricing. So we have a freemium plan. So you can send 100 emails per day and use up to 3 sequences without having to pay anything. So that is our freemium. And our 2 paid plans are the basic plan at $49 and the pro plan at $69. Now, to all of the attendees who are on this summit, you get a 50% off on all plans. No, there are no restrictions. So any plan you purchase, you get a 50% off. Just email sales@salesgear.io with the subject line of Line Summit offer to avail this offer. Thank you so much, Hans, and the rest of you for listening, and thank you for giving me this time.
All right. That is a good offer. That is a solid offer. I mean, I was already a Salesgear fan from what I've seen, and well, I obviously hadn't taken the demo before, but there are some things in there that would definitely be a game changer for me. So instead of having your Zapiers and Tegromat make, you can build internal automations where you would, like you just said, hey, they open my email 5 times, let's pick up the phone, things like that. So some phenomenal things in there. So that is, and let me just put a comment. So that is sales@salesgear.io. And
that's right.
And then the subject would be Line Email Summit. Is that correct?
Yeah, Line Summit offer. That's the subject.
Line Summit offer. All right. So just showing it on the screen. Is there a date on that? Because I know most of the people, they watch the replay because that fits better into their schedule. So when, imagine next week or hey, next month I'm watching the replay, can I still send you that email?
Yeah, this is open for the next 6 months. So we'll leave it open for the next 6 months, and anybody who does it within that gets the 50% discount.
All right. So for the next 6 months, 50% off of Salesgear if you send them an email at sales@salesgear.io and you mention the Line Summit offer in the subject. I love it. Very much enjoyed that. I know that we will be in touch because you already showed some AI components of Salesgear, and that is something that I would love to talk more about. So for now, thanks a lot. Thanks for your time, and I'll let you go. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Hans. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was it for today. I'm very thankful for the people who stuck with us from the beginning to the end. I know that must have been some of you, and that must have been a long ride. So anyone who tuned in on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, in our Facebook group, all of you, very much appreciated. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. I know I mentioned it a few times to our speakers that I will be watching all the replays, and I will be blocking out some time to study all the resources and all the great things that they've mentioned. And I will 100% be doing that. So if you opt in at summit.line.ai, we will send you all the replays, all the offers, all the other things that were mentioned during the summit. And we will make sure that you get to study as well, because there have been some phenomenal things that have been shared here. And most of the time, I just really cannot believe it has all been for free. If you're watching the replay later, then just know that these offers that are still available. Just make sure that you capitalize on that and you reach out to the people who spoke here today, but also yesterday, the day before yesterday. Then that brings me to the final point, the final talking point of today, which is the last day of the summit already, which is tomorrow. That is the 14th of April. Will be the very last day of our summit. And I know it's a cliche, but last but most definitely not least, you could almost say we saved the best for last, because tomorrow we will be joined by Milkshake, VP of Marketing of Milkshake, Alessandra. She will be joining us, and she will be talking about some really interesting stuff, some really relevant stuff on how to actually get into the inbox. I know that a lot of people there, their open rates have been suffering due to some recent Google updates, and she will be talking about how Milkshake works around that and combats that. So you definitely want to check that one out. That one starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And then after that, we will be joined by a Dutch friend of mine, a fellow Dutchman, Stefan from Expandy. Expandy.io, they're an amazing company as well. They're bootstrapped, they're growing rapidly, and they're recently branching out not just into LinkedIn outreach, but they're moving into multi-channel outreach, and they're one of the most popular tools out there who do just that, and they are the most popular one for a reason. They will talk about that, but they will also talk about how to make multi-channel outreach work, so how to actually make it happen for yourself, and they will come with some really cool actionable insights on that. And after, we have several other really interesting events for tomorrow. So there's a productivity expert coming. His name is David Jacobs from Leadhawks, and he will be talking about some productivity hacks, or called outreach productivity, that they have been using with their portfolio company or with their client base, I should say. And after that, to close things out, there will be Amelia Taylor from the Carabiner Group, who are a RevOps consulting agency, who are growing extremely fast and who are doing really exciting things. And she will share her secret, her cold email playbook with us. So that's one event that I'm looking forward to. And after, we will have another special offer from Expandy. So that is for tomorrow. Very much hoping to see you guys tomorrow. If you have any questions for me right now, now is the time. We've been live for 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 33 seconds exactly. But if you still have any questions left, then I will give you about 30 seconds more to ask those. But if I'm ending the broadcast, you still have questions, just make sure to reach out to me. That's either hans@getline.net, or you can reach me on LinkedIn. Very happy to connect on LinkedIn as well. If there are no questions, then I'll end the broadcast for today, and then I'm hoping to see everyone again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We kick off with the first event, where we'll be joined by the VP of Marketing from Milkshake. That is a very exciting event, and we're hoping to see you there. So that's it. I don't see any questions coming up, not on YouTube, not on LinkedIn, not on Twitter, not on Facebook. So for now, then I would say thank you very much, and have a good afternoon, evening, heck, maybe even morning, depending on where you are right now, and then see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.